IB Nation, welcome to the Notre Dame post-game show. Guys, I don't know what to say. We're going to have a lot to say, but I don't even know how to start this other than holy wow.
I'm too old for this.
What guys we have done in the last almost exactly to the minute. In 1 week, we have seen the game end on the exact opposite same way, but flipped for Notre Dame. We're going to talk a lot about the offense, and we're going to have a lot to say about the offense and the special teams, which were bad tonight. A lot to say about the defense, which put this game in a situation where they can't even win it. But Duke completely outplayed Notre Dame for the final 28 minutes of that game. Just like Notre Dame outplayed Ohio State for 57 minutes last week. But in the last 27 minutes, the last 3 minutes of the game, the defense made the stop when they needed to, polar opposite of last week. Offense did what they needed to do. It's even the last drive was like a perfect symbolism of that whole game for the offense. Penalties, like 4th and 16s, 3rd and longs. But they got the job done and they got to win, guys. And look, we're going to have a lot to say. This football team, in a lot of ways, is going to have to do a gut check because the reality is they got outplayed in a lot of ways tonight in the second half. They completely outplayed Duke in the first half, let Duke hang around. We kept texting each other the whole game like, man, they're letting this team hang around. This should be a blowout right now. And then Duke whoops them in the second half, out-coached them in the second half, out-hit them in the second half. I know, Ryan, you have a lot more to say about that. But when the game was on the line, fellas, the Notre Dame players did exactly what they didn't do last week. They stepped up and made the plays they needed to win the game. So, yes, there's going to need to be some soul searching this week with some players on this team, and they're going to have to find some answers on offense about some certain things, and there's a lot to get into. But, guys, when I thought this team was about ready to quit, I texted you guys this. I think they quit. Duke had a couple nice drive runs in a row, and I was like, I think they quit, and they stepped up and they won the game. Just a tremendous finish. This team, when it mattered most, showed a lot of heart, guys, and got it done, Ryan. And I'll say this, man. They went on the road and beat a team that every bit deserves to be ranked in the top 20 tonight.
No, they do. I think that it's one thing that I lose sight of on these post-game shows sometimes is that we're so Notre Dame centric, obviously, that I always want to, talk about what a great win it is for Notre Dame, what a performance it was like for Notre Dame. But I really just want to shout out to Duke real quick. I really do, because I think that they were a team that, for me, I expected Notre Dame to win handily tonight, to be honest, for just on paper.
Oh, yeah.
But those kids played their butts off. They're warriors. I mean, in the ultimate sense of the word. I mean, I feel incredibly upset for Riley Leonard at the end to get rolled up on and his ankle and to be, kind of be helped off, because that kid did not have a great game for his standards, but he fought his butt off in the second half and gave them a lead and did some stuff. So quick shout out to Duke, because they played hard from start to finish. Mike Elko has something working there down in Durham, North Carolina. He's a very good football coach, man, that I think Duke has a very bright future. So, yeah, I just really want to send a shout out to Duke, because I think that they deserve as much credit as what we're going to give Notre Dame. I mean, more credit. Right. They should have won the football game.
Because they don't have better players. They don't have better players, Vince. I'm going to kick it to you real quick, man. Look, Duke had every chance to fold in the first half. They were getting thoroughly outplayed by Notre Dame. I mean, that game should have been 24-3 at halftime.
Absolutely.
And they did not quit. They came out in the second half and were like, no, you guys had your chance to put us away. You failed. Now we got something for you.
Look, Duke showed me a lot, to be honest with you. And I think I predicted 41-10, something like that, because I had a lot of faith in, what was going to happen in this game, both from a coaching standpoint, from a toughness standpoint, all of those different things. I had a lot of faith in it. Duke showed me, look, and we'll get to the criticisms of Notre Dame, because that is going to come. This is not a, they won because they're the better team show. Believe me.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about Duke, because right now, Duke is playing like one of the best teams in the ACC. Now, you take that for whatever you think you want to take it as. Like, Florida State hasn't impressed a whole lot recently, right? They should have lost to Boston College, right? And Duke played hard, man. They're going to be a tough out. Duke is going to be a tough out in the ACC. That's what I saw tonight, and they played better than I thought that they were going to be perfectly honest with you, top to bottom.
They played, honestly, I'll say this. They played exactly how I thought they were going to play. Well coached, hard, not overly athletic, sound. And, I mean, we all predicted them to score about what they scored. I mean, I had them scoring 20. Ryan, I think you had them scoring 17 or 20. Vince, you had them scoring 17, I think. Like, and to me, Duke was who we thought they were. A really well-coached, tough, veteran football team that Notre Dame should have beat more convincingly, right? So I tip my cap to Duke. There's no doubt. But I also don't want to turn this into, holy crap, Notre Dame played great. They just weren't ready for how good Duke was. That's not what we're saying. That's not what any of us are saying. But you got to give credit to those kids for playing their absolute butts off in that game. At the end of the day, Notre Dame just has better players. And that's the only reason Notre Dame won, is because at the end of the game, Sam Hartman's better than Duke players, and Audric Estime is, and Mitchell Evans is, and Notre Dame just has better players. They did not out-coach Duke today. They did not out-hustle Duke today. They did not out-hit Duke today. They showed heart. Both teams showed a ton of heart, especially at the end. But at the end of the day, this is a win because Notre Dame had better players. And that's exactly why Georgia beat Auburn today. It's the only reason Georgia beat Auburn today. That's it. Yep. They have better players. It happens, right?
And Duke's a better team than Auburn. Just
100%.
FYI out there.
100%. These are the kind of games you have to win, guys, because you're not always going to win pretty.
Right.
And your backs are against the wall, and you had to go over 95 yards in, less than 2 minutes?
Right.
And they did it. Converted a 3rd and 10, converted a 4th and 16, and they did what they needed to do. Now, we'll talk tomorrow upon further review. Ryan and I are going to have a lot to talk about on Tuesday about where this team is. Yep. But the fact is yes, there was a lot they've got to get better. But as a coach, Vince, you know this, Ryan, you know this, we've all been coaches. When you can play like this, and at the end of the night, you said, guys, we got the W. I'm okay correcting all the other stuff that we need to correct when at the end of the day, you went on the road, beat a top 20 team, a deserved top 20 team on the road. I'll take it. And you led almost the entire game. I mean, Duke took a 14-13 lead late, and they had that for 2 possessions?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then Notre Dame came down and won it. So a lot to clean up, a lot to talk about, which we'll get into, especially on 2 phases of the 3 phases of the game, guys. But, man, Ryan, I don't – all that stuff aside, dude, these are the kind of games that you've got to win, and this team showed a lot of heart and got it done, dude.
I mean, it does, because the silver lining is this, guys, is that I don't think that this team was prepared well enough to play this football game, and I think that there were adjustments at halftime that they did not make, and that Duke out-coached them in a lot of ways.
On both sides of the ball, in my opinion.
But I'll be very honest. I thought twice down the stretch of this game that Notre Dame was going to lose this game. Twice. Duke's last drive.
That's all?
And then when it got to 2 times. Okay,
just check it. Yes. All right.
But it was that long drive. No, you're fine. It was a long drive, though, by Duke that, kind of stifled there at the end or whatever. But it was also great pooch punt by Bradley Leonard, by the way. That was a really good job there. But then the other time was when it was 4th and 16 on that last drive. I'm like, there's zero chance. Like, there's no chance. For a second, I was like, I think they're going to march Spencer Schrader out and try a 65-yard field goal since he's the strongest leg in the history of college football.
I was waiting on it. Can't hit a 35-yarder, but, he can hit him from 70.
Yes.
Yeah, I was waiting on
it. I keep hearing about it, man.
If they were 5 yards closer, they may have tried the field goal.
They may
Seriously.
have. Yeah, you're not wrong. They may have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those were the 2 big moments in that game where I was just like, I think Notre Dame's going to lose this football game. That was the first time that happened. Even when Notre Dame was like just slow and they were letting them hang around. At no point in the first half or even in most of the third quarter did I say, like, you know what, like, Duke's maybe going to beat Notre Dame. Like, there was no moments until they took the lead, and then there was a couple stalling drives where I'm like, oh man, this is not a good situation to be in right now. But at the end, I'll say this, that 4th and 16 got me juiced by Sam Hartman, which we'll talk about more. But like, the resiliency of this team to be able to still figure it out at the end there and to put that drive together. Because what was that, a 95-yard drive?
Well, it was 97 because they got the penalty that moved them back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a
Another
97-yard drive to win a football game on the road against the number 17 team in the country, guys. I understand there's a lot of frustration, and trust me, I was frustrated as a Notre Dame fan
And we'll
through the
have
majority
plenty
of
of
that
that,
football game.
Yep.
But that 97-yard drive just showed me something, right? That like
Yeah.
at worst, this team's not going to give up. I don't think they're going to give up. They're going to play to the whistle blows. So there's good to take from this game. It's just that obviously Notre Dame did not play near their best football game.
Not even close.
Which we'll get into.
Oh yeah,
Right.
and look, there's people are like, oh, you can't put a positive spin on this game. We're not trying to put a positive.
No, I'll
spin
put a
on
positive spin on it. I will. They freaking won the game.
They won the game right,
on
right.
the road against a 17 team. Look, guys, we can be adults here, right? And we can say, hey, listen, you guys do this against Ohio State, you get crushed. Well, they didn't do it against Ohio State. They did it against Duke. And yes, we can like, it's like somebody yesterday on Twitter was like, oh, you can't talk about something good from the game that you lost. That's not. So now I can't talk about good things from a game that they won. Like, what are we doing here? We will have a lot to be critical of in this game. A lot when we get to the offense. But when you go on the road and you beat a good football, we told you guys all week that this is a good Duke football team. Now, you played like crap in two of the three phases of the game and won. It's not a spin, Vince. It's the truth. They won the game. We'll have a lot of good things to say about the defense and a lot of bad things to say about the offense. But when we're talking big picture here, when you look at this football game, in every instance where Notre Dame's backs were against the wall, they stepped up and made plays. And again, the dichotomy between this week and how it ended and last week how it ended does not need to be dismissed so easily by some. Because the whole point of last week was you got into this big game, you outplayed a team for most of the game, but when the game was on the line, your offense didn't step up, your defense didn't step up, and you lost the game. This week, it was the same exact situation, except Notre Dame was the team who needed to make a late stop and then go down and score, and they did it. That can't be ignored. We'll talk about plenty of stuff that we're critical of. Trust me, Vince and I are going to spend plenty of time breaking down the offense tomorrow night in our part of further review, and it's not going to be pretty.
No.
Okay, but if you can't also sit back and appreciate the fact that the team that you root for showed that much heart in that type of game, then, that's on you, not them. Right. So, Vince, I don't have to defend being positive.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
After you just won a game on the road.
Right.
Forget that. Forget that. This was a good win.
Look,
they got to play better.
Notre Dame had no business winning that game at the end because of how they played in the second half. They had
100%.
no business winning that
100%.
game.
Duke deserved to win that game based on how that second half went.
Right.
100%.
And in my opinion, offensively, they got behind their sixth-year quarterback and they followed his lead. Look, say what you want to about the offense, and we will say plenty. Believe me, okay?
Yeah.
Sam Hartman didn't play a great game. He didn't play a great game, right? But he never looked rattled. He never looked shook by any stretch of the imagination. He just kept plugging away. And when he was given an opportunity, he made the play. And you can't say he didn't learn from last week because there was a first down where he could have stepped out of bounds and he lowered his freaking shoulder and got the first down.
Converted a fourth down earlier in the game too.
Yes, that's what the one I'm referring to. And then this one, he's like, I gotta go. I can take it. I got this. And he lowers his shoulder again. He doesn't head for the sideline. He lowers his shoulder and he gets it. Yeah. The offense rallied around him tonight. That's what I saw. They rallied around him. And, thank God Sam Hartman decided to come to Notre Dame. I'll just say it, right? Because he didn't play a great game.
No,
play a great game.
He played a. We'll get into that, Ryan. Before we move on to the offense, do you have any last things you want to say just about the overall nature of the team? Again, man, I can't help but say, when you play like this and you're able to find a way to win, you count your blessings, just like Georgia did today. Right?
Sure.
You found a way to win. Now go clean some stuff up and go out next week and try to get better against Louisville. That's the key here.
I think Vince hits a key point is that, and I'll even take it a step further from Sam Hartman, is that I think on both sides of the football, when they needed it most, seniors stepped up, right?
Yeah.
Like upperclassmen stepped up with a little bit of Rico Flores mixed in on that last drive. Mitchell Evans, right? But it really is. I mean, it's the Sam Hartmans, it's the Howard Crosses, it's the Maris Loithaus for the majority of the night. Like there was some veteran leadership that, again, didn't play a good football game in the entirety, but when you came down to it, they gave you their best version of themselves, which is what you want to see from senior leadership. And I think that's been missing at times over the past few years, if I'm being honest, right? Like there's some games where I'm just like, they're not going to come back in this game. They're not going to finish this off. They're not going to make that big drive. But Notre Dame has some guys that, if nothing else, not perfect, but resilient. And resilient is always a good thing, especially when you play against good football teams on the road.
17th ranked team, you got it done. A lot to clean up, but I'll never apologize for a road win over a ranked team. And to your point, Ryan, how can you not be impressed with the job that Mike Elko has done? Guys, 13-5 in 2 years. His biggest loss was 8 points, an 8-point loss. Like, he is doing a tremendous job there. There's no doubt about it. Let's go, guys, into the Notre Dame offense. And this, at the end of the day, Duke played hard and they coached well and they did all that. But the fact of the matter is this game had no business being close. And I don't want to hear they didn't have Jaden Thomas and they didn't have Jaden Greathouse. I don't want to hear it because Duke played that entire game without their All-American left tackle.
Yep.
Okay, so both teams were, and he is more important to Duke's offense than with all. And I don't mean this in disrespectful because those guys are good football players that Notre Dame was without today. But Graham Barton's a lot more important to the Duke offense than Jaden Thomas and Jaden Greathouse are to the Notre Dame offense, right?
And Notre Dame took advantage big time of the fact that he wasn't there.
Right.
That's not even disrespectful. It's not even like you're Duke's pulling from a smaller pool of football players, and Graham Barton's their best one. So,
and he's a preseason All-American. Him and Joe Walt were almost consensus preseason All-Americans this season. He was either first or second team with everybody. You know, so you were missing two guys, and they're we'll get into those, but this offense, forget the whole okay, Jaden Thomas didn't play, Jaden Greathouse didn't play. Is that why Zeke Carroll had 2 false starts in the first half? You know what I mean? Like, here's one of your starting wide receivers had a brutally awful game. It wasn't like the guy filling in for Jaden Thomas had a bad game.
It was a starting,
it was a starter. So like, I don't want to hear the whole, well, they didn't have this, they didn't have that. No, that's not good because you didn't get beat because you didn't have Jaden Thomas. You didn't get beat for a lot of this game because you didn't have Jaden Greathouse. You got beat in this game because your offense was not prepared to play at a high level in this game. It really wasn't, guys. And it was a very head-scratching performance because, like last week, we said, look, Jared Parker called a really good game for a lot of the game, except in some crucial moments. Today, I still am trying to figure out what they were doing. There's a lot of head-scratching stuff. Like, they were playing into Duke's hands defensively with some of their with some of their route concepts. It's like you guys are running right into where you know the safeties are going to be. This wasn't a game where Duke did a bunch of things we'd never seen before. Duke played who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Your run game was very slow, just slow developing. Everything was downhill. They did such a great – Ryan, this is the thing that got me. You did such a great job last week with mixing in your running back rotation and using sort of that thunder and lightning type of thing.
Yep.
That's exactly what they needed to do in this game, and they just stayed with the slow,
nothing outside.
Downhill runs the entire game. Ryan, I didn't understand. That was my first big beef with this game from a coaching, play calling standpoint was that, and they never adjusted that. Like all the diversity, all that was kind of gone today, and that was a little. I kept waiting. Okay, this is the series going to put Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price in a game and get outside, and they kept running toss to Audric, and there was 2 times I'm like, dude, if they had somebody with a little bit more explosiveness, those tosses are going in the first half. And that was probably the first thing that just really just kind of frustrated me a little bit tonight from a game plan standpoint.
Did Jadarian Price even carry the football tonight?
No, he came in and pass blocked late in the game.
And he lead blocked on some of those 2-back sets. He was the lead blocker.
I was lead blocking for Jabron Payne at one point, and that's kind of like the only time I saw 2-4 in the game. But I mean, honestly, like outside of that, which I think is malpractice, to be honest, like where's Jeremiah Love? Jeremiah Love needs to touch the football more, like he does.
Yes.
They had that one drive, he had that fake punt, and then they gave him a jet sweep on the next play, and then you barely saw of him the rest of the game.
Right.
Like I barely saw of him. I mean, I felt like I was in like that skit of like, you need more cowbell. Like I need more Jeremiah Love. Like, can I get more Jeremiah Love? Like start ringing the bell here, man. Like, can I get it? But it was a frustrating decision making, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, because Brian, what did we talk about all week? We talked about the strongest points of this defense for Duke by far. Secondary at cornerback is good, but their defensive tackles are very good football players.
Yeah.
And you were just like, we're just going to
And
work
they're
big
big,
gap to big
Ryan.
gap all day.
Like last week, I understood a little bit of the downhill stuff because Mike Hall's really good and Talik Williams are really good, but Ty Hamilton's good, but you're bigger than they are. You could kind of lean on them a little bit. The one thing we said this week is they're pretty big up front, but they're not super athletic up front. Their linebackers aren't athletic. But we did say, what did we say about their linebackers? They're big kids. They're 230 plus pound kids. It's like they played right into Duke's strength.
Yeah.
The whole game. And here's the other thing too. Their guards for Notre Dame and this, like Zeke Corral, they had the two false starts, but you're like, hey, you're a veteran. If you still play well, I can get over that. But he didn't. He got his butt kicked tonight. And the two guards were awful.
In a while. Yeah.
The entire interior, Jamion Franklin and Dwayne Walker and Peebles, they kicked Notre Dame's interior guys all night long, and they just kept going back to it. That's what was really puzzling to me, is like everything you had done run game wise that had got your run game looking so good in the first 5 games, you went away from in this game, Vince. And I really didn't understand it, man.
It felt very, and I'm not talking scheme necessarily or whatever, but it just felt like they were banging their head against the wall with the way that they were operating the run game. And it felt very much like the last few years at Notre Dame, where they're just going to run duo and zone or what. And again, I'm not saying that that's what they were doing, but it's like they just kept running right up the middle where Duke was the strongest. And it was extremely frustrating. And I got a text late in the game like, oh, they finally went to Audric. It's like, he had 18 carries.
Right.
He had 18 carries. Right. He just finally broke one on accident.
You just didn't notice because like his first 12 were just incredibly ineffective.
1 yard,
averaging like
2 yards,
under 2 yards a carry. Like it was.
Vince, he finished with 18 for 81.
Yes.
So that means until that last drive, he had 51, or that last carry had 51 yards on 17 carries.
Right.
That's literally 3 yards a carry.
Right.
Right. It was a rough.
So
night.
That part was frustrating.
But I don't even put that on him so much, guys.
No.
I'm not.
No.
I'm sorry, Mitch. Keep going, man. I wasn't implying.
Oh, okay.
That's my bad. No.
It's just, the way that they were operating the run game was just incredibly frustrating to me. It was incredibly frustrating, and it wasn't helping open up the pass game. And it was like, okay, hey, we're going to run up the middle on first down every time, and it just puts them behind the chains. And it was just, it was frustrating. It was incredibly frustrating. And I think what was even more frustrating about it to me, Brian, we haven't seen that this year.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, this is what you're doing. Like, this is your game plan. Like, I was really hoping for, so like after the first drive, I was like, oh, that was a pretty creative drive on that first drive. They go down, they score a touchdown.
Yeah, they ran like that wide seam route that they hit against NC State. They ran on the second play. They threw a post route to Tobias. It was just off, slightly overthrown. Need to see Tobias lay out for it, right?
Sure.
Like just off, just a little off. So I felt really encouraged by that first drive, guys. I mean, they needed the fake punt, but it's kind of like, well, that's because the false start. Zeke's not going to do that again, right?
No, I agree with you on that.
He did. I mean, the other thing, the only call I hated on the first drive, Vince, is that little angle throw to Audric. I don't have a problem with the throw. It's like, but why is he the guy getting that ball?
Right. Exactly.
Why isn't that going to Jadarian Price or Jeremiah Love? Right. There just was stuff like that. That's like, you think that you're going to give anything away by putting Jeremiah Love in on 3rd and 17 and they're going to be, angle route's coming. No, I mean,
they didn't notice that he was the up back on punt. So yeah, I mean,
right. So
they didn't notice they had 7 guys to the right of the football either. Like they didn't adjust. Like anyway.
So we didn't talk about this beginning. I was disappointed in the manner in which Coach Freeman got his team to play tonight. I was very disappointed in that. I didn't think that they came out, at least offensively, especially, but even on defense, like they played well, but I don't think they necessarily played with like tons and tons of fire.
Yeah. There was no passion in the way that they were playing. I agree.
They were physical on defense, but they didn't play like with like a lot of and that was disappointing. But I will say this. I thought he was aggressive tonight in his head coaching decision-making. That I liked. I mean, the fake punt, I loved it.
On the first drive of the game.
Going for it on fourth down on early, in the first half. Was the first half where, they went for it on 4th and 2 and Sam picked it up. And by the way, great job by Jabron Payne when he saw that Sam was scrambling to turn around and block that guy.
And then he blocked him in.
He probably still picks it up, maybe, if Jabron doesn't block that guy, but he turned maybe a 2-yard run into a 7-yard run.
Yeah.
But I did like that. I did like the aggressiveness.
Sure.
But then you get into the situation where it's like, what was it when they tried that long field goal and then got a delay game? We'll talk about the train wreck of a special teams unit later.
Yeah.
But so there was a couple things like that, but I did like that type of stuff, and in hindsight 2020, if you don't do that early in that game, what kind of happens late, you need it. It turned out to be a big moment in what was a low scoring game. So
sure.
I did like that, but I mean, you're talking about, you ran for 159 yards in this game, guys. Yeah. 34 of it came on a fake punt.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 30 came at the end of the game. And you say, well, offensive line did what they needed to do. Well, he ran into the back of a lineman because once again, they kind of blitzed into the play.
Yeah.
I thought Duke blitzed into the play. And my one complaint about Duke from a coaching standpoint is I do think they went away from what got them there on that last drive. It allowed Notre Dame to get some things there. But I mean, so just coaching wise, play calling wise, I hope that they post the all 22 tonight before 4 a.m. when I'm might go to bed, because I just can't wait to watch.
You're going to dive into it tonight.
There just was so much I just was frustrated by. And let's talk about the quarterback, guys.
Okay. Yep.
We'll talk about the heart in the last drive here in a minute, but I want to talk about what led in before that.
Yeah.
This was a rough game for Sam Hartman, in my opinion. And now look, he had like 3 drops, of plays that he should have made. But I will say he had at least 2 plays that had no business being completed that Mitchell Evans made great grabs on, in this game. He was just off kind of all night. Like, he just didn't look comfortable with his reads. The first drive, he was getting that ball out quick, man. That seam route, great. The third down, was it the first drive? He hit that little third or second drive. He hit that little out cut. Yeah, it's the second drive. He just threw that little stutter out to Mitchell Evans where the corner tried to jump, or the slot tried to jump it.
Yep.
If Sam doesn't throw that ball immediately and throw it with zip, that ball might get picked off. I mean, that was a confident throw. But once they got off script, I thought Sam this was the most uncomfortable I've ever seen him look in a game at Notre Dame. He really just did not look confident out there tonight. And it looked like he didn't have confidence in his players.
Yeah.
He didn't have confidence in the line. I don't know what it was, but he had just like the crossing route to Rico that he just sailed.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple times I thought, like, man, he's got Tyree in that window, man. Put it on him,
right?
And he just wasn't willing to let it go. So even though the receiver struggled, there were some times where it's like, that was there, man. You gotta stick that throw on him. So I mean, we'll wait till the last. We'll talk about the last drive in a second, but just this was part of the thing that kind of got you there, was just the fact that you didn't have a ton of opportunities in the pass game, Ryan, and the ones you did, you missed. From a quarter, we'll talk about the receiver stuff here in a second, but from a quarterback standpoint, there were too many. You said it in the text chain, Ryan. You said way too many missed layups in this game.
Oh, easy. Yeah, it was. Because I peeked at the chat, right?
Oh, you said that, Vince? I'm sorry. My
he said
bad.
layup. I said that he was just
oh, God. I'm just giving you crap, man. It's all good.
But, but Vince.
It was something insightful, so I just assumed it was Ryan, not Vince.
That's fair. That's fair, because I don't say much insightful things when I'm fuming in my basement with all the doors closed.
Ryan's like, I got something great to say, guys. Shut up and let me say it. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, usually I'm the one that loses my train of thought, so I'm actually happy that you guys were doing that for a second there. Sam Hartman, because I've seen the chat and everyone is just trying to come to his rescue, right? Pressure on him tonight. Yeah. Offensive coordinator didn't call a great game. Yeah, wide receivers were down, and all that is fair, guys, and to a degree. Yeah. But there were still a lot of things there that ball placement was just a massive issue all day. Just all day. Right. It was. It was a massive issue. Even the great play that Mitch Evans made with that one-handed catch and run after, it was a terrible ball. It was a terrible ball. It should have been batted and tipped and maybe intercepted. Like, it was an awful ball. So let's call this what it is, right? Sam Hartman had his worst game as a member of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They still won. He showed up when it mattered most, which is great.
58 and a half minutes, Sam Hartman did not play good enough football for Notre Dame to win that game. For 58 and a half minutes.
There was just passes behind, passes in front. Like, the ball placement was just off all day.
Like Ryan, drops, O-line stunk. We'll get into that. Bad play calling. That's not why he sailed that ball 5 feet over Rico Flores' head.
Right.
That's not why he was unwilling to fit a couple of those throws over the middle to Chris Tyree. That's not why he threw balls way over Mitchell Evans' head. There were other plays that he missed that's not on him. Where's he supposed to go with that football? You're turning guys loose. So yeah, I mean, you can say it's okay to say that, guys. It's not saying, oh, we hate Sam. I wish he was still awake. No, obviously, especially the last couple minutes, but you can still say, I didn't play well.
You want to say something? You want to hear something insightful I said in the chat, right? After bagging on Sam all night. What did I say that last drive? Sam Hartman, effing warrior is exactly what I said. All right.
And that's what it comes down to, Vince, because you and I have talked about this, Vince, for years. You and I have been doing this together for years. And what we've always said about quarterbacks is you don't get judged on what you do for the first 3.5 quarters. You get judged about what you do in the money time. I'm a big John Elway guy, right? There were plenty of games as a kid that I watched where John Elway played like crap for 3 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, his team down 14. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so great to have a guy like Sam Hartman, because everything we just said is true. And you all can defend him all you want, but he did not play well. And you know who else will tell you he didn't play well tonight? Sam Hartman will tell you he didn't play well tonight.
That's why he didn't even want to talk about himself in the postgame. Right.
But here's the deal. You gave him that chance at the end. And I'll be honest, when they got the ball at the 5-yard line, I thought they were going to win until the 4th and 16. Like, Ryan, I was with you on that. Like, once they got there, I was like, freaking crap. And once he starts scrambling around, I'm like, oh, it's over. It's over. Because you don't think Sam Hartman's about to run for 17 yards. But here's the deal, guys. It's like, this is why you get a Sam Hartman, because let me tell you, every football team in the world, in America, is going to have days like this. Georgia had one today. Georgia had one last year against Missouri. And Duke is a whole lot better football team than Missouri was last year. You know what I mean? Go back to Bama's first title team in 2009. They beat a really mediocre 7-6 Lane Kiffin coach Tennessee team, and they needed 3 blocked kicks to win that game. 2 of them, I think, by Terrence. 2 or 3 block kicks. Terrence Cody blocked 2 kicks in that game. You're going to have days like this, but this is why you have a guy like Sam Hartman. Because if you're Duke, you better not give him that last opportunity, because I don't care how bad he played the first 58 minutes of the game. I just had this calm when the drive started. I had a couple minutes of not calm once it got going. But I just had this calm, like, you guys screwed up. You gave Sam the ball. He's got a couple timeouts. You guys are going to lose this football game. And I wouldn't have felt that way last year. If the same situation came in last year's team, I'm like, they're screwed. They're not going to win this football game. I didn't feel like this in past years. I talked about when Notre Dame played Georgia in 2019, Vince, and they got the ball at midfield, down 6. I was like, they're not going to win this game.
Oh, no. I had no faith. No faith.
But tonight I did. And it was because of one reason.
Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I will say, when he was scrambling to the right on 4th and 16, I was like, Sam, don't run. You got to throw it. I was literally yelling at my TV. You don't know. You got to throw it. And he picks it up. Now, if I was in the press box or whatever, you would have been able to see that there was a ton of green grass in front of him. Yeah. But with the TV copy, you don't see that.
Well, I don't care how much green grass. It's still Sam Hartman. You don't think he's going to run for 17 yards on 4th?
Seriously. Like, they're going to converge and stop him at some point. But, you know what? Like, he knew that he was off. Yeah. I mean, he was 50%. He was a 50% passer. There were 3 times in this game where he completed consecutive passes. 3. Like, he had an off night, folks.
Right.
And he knew he was having an off night, because on that 4th and 16, he was getting ready to let it go. And he's like, you know what?
Right.
I think I'm going to run this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's pretty self-aware for how this game was going for him specifically, and the fact that he thought he could get it. So, you know what? They ended up getting it. I was scared out of my mind that they were going to try to kick a field goal to win it. and we'll talk
Yeah.
about special teams. But
Yeah.
you are absolutely right when you said this game was the polar opposite of last week.
Yes.
Because they got outplayed in the second half, but not the last 2 minutes.
Not when it
Both
mattered.
offensively
Well,
and defensively.
Right. Exactly.
Vince
In the
always
last
just wants
2
to talk about
minutes.
special teams, man. You always just want to talk
Exactly.
about special teams.
Well,
I
hey,
know.
real quick though, Ryan, on that last drive, it was a very unclean drive. He was throwing off his back foot. He was scrambling around. I mean, it wasn't like he was sitting back and just poised and just throwing dives.
Hats off
I
to
mean, he
Elko
had-
for continuing to heat him up.
Yeah.
Like that was, I actually, outside of the fact that you gave up a 4th and 16 run by the quarterback who's not super mobile, that was a heck of a defensive
But
call,
see,
like
that
series by
call
them.
right there was exactly the same mistake Notre Dame made last week against Ohio State.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Like those receivers were getting no release. There was no time to throw. But here's the fourth, the drive as a whole, though, guys. I mean, you had the false start by Tobias to start it. Don't know how
Right
that
off
happens.
the bat.
Tobias then commits a pass interference on a ball he should have caught. That was a dime by Sam Hartman, by the way. And instead of that's a lack, and we'll get into Tobias here in a second. But like you get a 15-yard penalty, so it's 1st and 25 now, and they just kept battling back, man. And he made the plays he needed to make. It was a and then Audric is another one. Audric was not good tonight.
No.
Now Audric wasn't good, not because Audric didn't play well. Audric wasn't good because there was nowhere to go.
He was running into walls, man.
Right. Like I mean, again, we'll look at the all 22, Ryan. It wasn't a game where I was like
at times though, because man, there was some. I was actually impressed with him at times though, because I'm like, there's some plays where he's like just moving piles. I'm like, there was nothing.
But
there,
like
man.
last week, there was a couple times I thought he made a wrong read. Remember the 3rd and 2 before the 4th and 1? I said, he needs. Yeah. Tonight it was like he what Duke was doing to Notre Dame's run game was exactly what we always say you need to do, which is make the running back cut early. Right. And then there was some other weird stuff too, like the one play he runs into Rico Flores because they kept trying to do that counter heavy with Rico, and Rico would run through the hole and just keep running. It's like, what are you doing, dude? You gotta block somebody.
Receiver. He's a wide receiver.
But here's the thing: that's on you as a coaching staff. Why are you asking Rico Flores to do that? Like, especially when the play wasn't working early. Like, that's not the kid. Because here's the thing. It's like, that's just you saying we're going to do something because the scheme has worked. And it's worked very well with them when Jaden Thomas was in the game. But you don't have Jaden Thomas, who's 30 pounds bigger than Rico Flores. That was another just of the head-scratching calls. And they ran that late in the game, too, guys, on like the second to last drive. I think it was the drive, the second, not the one, the touchdown drive, but the one before that. Yeah, they went for a -1. They got lucky because it ended up being a personal foul, I think, on the play. I think is what happened. But
yes. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. But
stupid penalty.
So I'll have to watch y'all 22 to see if this is but I didn't think Audric played bad. There just was nowhere for him to go. It was a rough night for him because the offensive line just got their butts kicked tonight. They really did.
I felt like offensively, play calling perspective, didn't it feel like Notre Dame was just kind of like, watch the film this week and they're like, we're better than that team. We're just going to do whatever the heck we want. And that was just kind of their thought process.
No, that's a good call.
No creativity that we've seen in the past.
That's a good call.
Adjustment. There was no adjustment at halftime in the run game at all. I mean, not run well in the second half outside of the last drive in the entirety of that football game. And you run well in the last game because they're also in prevents, right? Where they're not loading the box a ton. Right. So it was just a weird night offensively, but I mean, I think you summed it up perfectly, Brian. Like it's Audric would have had to been superhuman to have a great night tonight because
or a 4-3.
Well,
I mean, that's the other thing is like
that
and that's some of the issues I had with the play calling is some of those plays you needed to hit that Duke defense quickly. You needed to hit him like last week. You needed that was an athletic Ohio State defense, and you needed to crease it quickly, and they did that with Jadarian and with Jeremiah Love. And then this week, it's like we didn't see that hardly at all, and that was frustrating part of it. Let's talk about the wide receivers. I thought Chris Tyree should have caught 3 more balls in this game. He caught the ones that came his way. Did a nice job making a play on that one ball because that should have got picked off. That over route.
Yes.
Now I wonder if Chris. I
don't think he saw the defender.
Well,
do you?
But he made a play for the ball. But my thing is, I think Chris took that route too deep.
Okay.
I think Sam was expecting him to come underneath that
Yeah.
safety depth. Like you
Which would
can't
make
run that
sense.
over on that post over. I don't think you can run that deep.
That makes sense.
And I just felt, or it
It
could
made
also
the
be that
play
the
easier for
receiver
the
didn't get to
safety.
the post fast enough.
Yeah.
But that safety could have played either one of those routes. So part of me thinks that Chris needs to see that safety depth and kind of come underneath it, give Sam a little better chance.
Sure.
There's a couple other times I thought he was open more. I thought Rico played well, and he had that one drop, right? You know, he played well for being a freshman in game 6.
Sure.
I was incredibly frustrated with Tobias Merriweather tonight. Okay, the first one you don't lay out. All right, you know, it is what it is. I would like to see him lay out. I don't know why we don't see more receivers lay out anymore, but it is what
that's
it
an
is.
epidemic, man.
You're 6'4", man. Use your length, right?
Right. But okay, move on from that one. He drops a crossing route, just kind of slowly puts his hands out, misses it, you know, maybe gets tackled for a 5-yard gain. That last possession, he gets a false start. Like, just where's your head at? Sam throws him a beautiful deep ball. He beat the guy off the line. And that's the frustrating thing. If you go back and watch that game, there's about 4 or 5 times Tobias just flat beat his guy off the line. The play where they called the penalty and then took it back, that was a mistake on Sam. They had single high. Tobias beat his guy off the line. He had him by a couple steps. If Sam just gets to his top and just lets it go, you've got a big play. He had that guy beat. He had the guy beat on the last drive, but he just is playing with. I mean, it's beyond no urgency tonight, guys. It was just, I don't know what it was. And then he's playing with zero confidence right now. Zero confidence right now. I was told he was dropping balls before the game in warm-ups. That's a guy has lost his confidence in himself. When a receiver pushes off on a play like that, that's a guy that has no confidence in himself at that point in time. Go make the play. That was a really rough it was a really rough performance when the ball came his way. And you say, well, why doesn't Sam throw the ball more? It's like, well, you got to earn that. And you had your chances tonight. And here's the deal. With no Jaden Thomas, with no Jay Greathouse, they needed Tobias to step up tonight, and he didn't.
Right.
And that was frustrating. That was frustrating.
It was very frustrating because, like you said, it's the effort stuff more than anything for me. Because, like, people are going to drop passes, right? Like, no wide receiver is perfect. We always laud guys like Larry Farrell, but, like, you know, they drop passes too. Jerry Rice drop passes. Everyone's going to drop passes, but it's how people respond to things, right? And it's how their process and it's their effort that they put out. And even that non-pass interference call, Brian, like, you're 100% right. Sam needs to get that ball out a lot earlier and not break the pocket for sure. But, like, what is that effort? What's the effort to come back?
You may draw the penalty if you do a better job there.
You probably do. You probably do, because that ball would have been deemed catchable if he would have just stuck his foot in the ground, come back, and you would have
jump up, put your hands out like this, make the guy run through you.
Or better yet, maybe you make the catch. Who knows? Like, I don't know what happens if you make that effort, but I don't know what it is with Tobias right now. He's an incredibly talented kid. We've talked about it in nauseam at this point. 6'4", 5, very good athlete. But there's I don't want to say a mental block, but I want to say that there is a lack of confidence right now. And I think there's a little bit of soul searching that needs to happen with him individually, but also soul searching with this whole team, this game.
Like, the whole offense, for sure.
The offensive side,
This is one of those ugly football games where, yes, you're fortunate to win, but afterwards, you need to kind of sit down and be like, you need to evaluate some things, right? You need to reevaluate your efforts, reevaluate why were we in the position that we were in when we were so much more talented than that team across. And Tobias is in that boat. He is. He's one of the guys that you look at and say, Tobias, you have all the talent in the world. We still believe in you. Ultimately, you need to figure out what's going on in there, man, because that drop on just that simple drag route over the middle, like, that's inexcusable. That stuff you cannot excuse.
It was. I don't want to say the L word because of how that's perceived, but it just was no effort, man. Just no effort on that throw, Vince. None. And I'll say this. Here's the interesting thing. I've heard some things about Coach Stuckey's coaching style that have me a little concerned about whether or not some of these things can be fixed. Because here's the deal. You need to be able to hold Tobias accountable, but you've got to do it in a way. And Ryan, you started to hint at this, but Vince, I really want you to dive into this. you've got to find a way to hold Tobias accountable, but fix this because you can't just bench him. You're going to need him in future games to win football games. So if the good coaches, right? It's like, what was the game? The Colorado State Colorado game.
Yeah.
When the Horn kid, what's his first name? Jimmy Ryan. So Jimmy Horn makes I think he like just dropped the ball. Just made two like really bad plays. Comes off the sideline. Dion grabs him in his ear. Now, he's telling him, like what he's got, but he's like, we need you. We need you. And that kid steps up and made some huge plays after that, right? So there's got to be accountability, but it's got to be done in a way that's just not beating the kid down. It's like, buddy, here's why you got to be better, because we need you to be better, and then find ways to do it. And then if he doesn't respond to that, then you've got to make decisions. But they're going to need Tobias, guys. He's too talented not to play. But at the end of the day, talent, what's the expression you and I always talk about when we talk about recruiting, Ryan? Potential does not win football games. Production does. And right now, 6 games in, we're having way too much conversation about Tobias from a potential standpoint, not a production standpoint, because the guy that we see in practice, the guy that we see at other times, is not the guy that we're seeing on Saturdays.
Right.
And that's a problem.
It's a huge problem. Yeah, no, it's a huge problem. And they're going to need to figure out, this is where, well, to be honest with you, this is what I love about coaching. And I think you're the same way, Brian. The best part about coaching is figuring out what makes these guys tick. And you've got to figure out what makes Tobias Merriweather tick. What is going to get him to play, to his potential, to where he needs to be? What is it that you have to say? What is it that you can do to, get these guys where you need him to be, and him specifically? Because every player is different. You've got to find the right notes to hit with that kid, and they need to find it with Tobias because they can be a very dynamic offense, and he can be a very big part of it.
They can if he becomes a part of it. Like, I think people are saying, Kenny Moore says, I don't know, Brian, something is missing with Tobias. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I'm with you. Somebody else says he seems like there's no fire in him. Exactly. Look, I don't disagree with you guys. We don't disagree with any of you all at all about what he did tonight. It was awful.
It was bad. Really bad.
It was like, do we need to find somebody else bad? Like, it was that bad. But the fact of the matter is, his skill set is unique enough, and his talent is too great that you can't just push him aside. You need him. You've got to figure out a way to push those buttons, because what we saw tonight, guys, is completely unacceptable. And I hope Tobias feels that way. I really hope that. I hope that Tobias's pride was hurt tonight. That he's got to look in the mirror and say, dude, I'm so much better than that. And then, okay, yes, you are. Do something about it, because he is a very talented player. But Stuckey needs to be able to push the right buttons. And sometimes, guys, it's a butt chewing. Sometimes it's put your arm around a kid and say, buddy, you're better than this. We need you. Because they are going to need him. And he hurt them tonight. It wasn't just him. This isn't like, oh, the offense was great except for Tobias. There's plenty of people who played poorly.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're making stuff, when effort is the part of the reason that you didn't play well, that's a different problem than like Rock. We'll talk about the line. Rocco Spindler, Pat Coogan played poorly tonight. But I won't sit there and say they played like they didn't want to be out there.
Right.
They just got their butts kicked and played poorly. Their technique was bad and all that. Tobias he needs to be better. His effort needs to be better. His concentration needs to be better, and his production needs to be better. And it can. And you can only give him so much, there's only so many opportunities you can give a guy before it comes down to, look, I don't care what your position coach does. I don't care. There's some things that I think Coach Stuckey needs to fix and correct that he's doing, because we're seeing when issues are happening throughout a position group, that's a coaching problem, right? When half your lineup is out because of hamstring injuries and the other half of your lineup that played are also battling hamstring injuries, because that's the thing. I've been told that Tobias and Chris Tyree are also both dealing with hamstring issues that are limiting them. But you've got to kind of tough through that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Mitchell Evans was dealing with that. He messed his ankle up tonight. But on that last drive, he toughed it out and went and made a heck of a catch on 3rd and 10. Caught that ball short of the sticks, guys. on that third down route. Caught it short of the sticks, but he said, "You're not stopping me from getting a first down tonight." You know, and that's just something we need to see from Tobias. He's got it in him. He just has to bring it out, man. Potential's there, but it's just we got to stop talking about potential with him. Rest of the receiving core we talked about, Tyree, Rico. I thought Rico played it like if Tobias Merriweather could match Rico Flores' effort, it's going to be a heck of a football player.
Agreed.
Heck of a football player.
Rico made freshman mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, he made freshman mistakes. And this is the first time that they've really leaned into him because they had to, because of the injury situation. I mean, they were depleted and they had to really lean into like right now, ideally, you want Rico Flores to have 10 to 15 snaps.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he can go ball out on those 10 to 15 snaps. That wasn't the case tonight. He had to be out there the whole game for the most part until, except for when they went to like 12 and 13. And even then he was out there for some 12. So, he played well for what he was asked to do. And he's just going to keep getting better. So I have zero issue with the way Rico Flores played today.
Yeah. He played hard, guys.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, Ryan, you and I talk about this all the time. I can live with mistakes. I can live with drops.
Sure.
It's not even the drops that Tobias had tonight that really bothered me. It was the body language and the effort that came with those drops. That's what bothered me. Rico had a drop tonight. Rico had a couple bad routes, but Rico played hard. Yep. That's the difference, and
Rico's a dog, man. I mean, call it what it is. I mean, we and this was a obvious thing. We knew that Jaden Greathouse and Rico Flores, coming from the schools that they come from, were going to be mentally prepared to have this type of performance, right? Like,
not disappointed.
You haven't. And then you're 100% correct. A couple freshman mistakes, like you would always expect from a kid that's 18 years old.
Right.
But Rico Flores carries himself like a seasoned vet and a kid that wants the football. I mean, he had that one reception where he broke like a tackle after, and you could just get up and you could see the swagger, man. Like you could just see it. There was also a play on the last drive where I think Sam scrambled and then maybe I think he ran for like a shorter gain or whatever. But Rico was playing backside, and you can see Rico still fighting to get open, man, and getting his hand up. And I'm just like, that's urgency, right? He plays with urgency that the wide receiver core needs to play with, because he is a kid that from the moment he stepped foot on campus this past spring, he wanted to be that guy. Like he wanted to be that guy.
Ryan,
and
I need to say this to you, and I want you to respond to it.
Yeah.
For me, it's a problem when your two freshmen are your best effort guys. Like, to me, that says a lot about the veterans and the preparation of this team. Because like you said, Rico didn't get developed into being this kind of dude. Rico showed up this way. Jaden Greathouse didn't get developed into being what he is so far at Notre Dame. He was developed this way at home and at Austin Westlake. That's a problem. That's a problem to me that needs to get addressed, but that's a conversation for another night. Before we get into defense, guys, we got to talk about the offensive line. This was it got across the board, including Joe Alt. This was a rough night. Like I'm singing Joe Rudolph's praises last week, and this doesn't mean like, oh, Joe Rudolph was a bad hire. I can't stand when like a guy his unit has a bad game, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he should never have hired him. You know what I mean? But tonight, Joe Rudolph's offensive line got their butts kicked, and you could say part of it was the game plan, but mostly it was just they got their freaking butts kicked. Not firing off the ball, losing the pad level battle all night long, not driving their feet inside through contact. They looked unsure. A lot of times, like especially like with Blake Fisher and Rocco, they looked unsure of what Duke was doing.
Yeah.
Like they weren't prepared to handle the movements. Vince, I don't know if you saw the same thing. And Ryan, I want you to comment on it after Vince, but this was a unit that symbolized sort of the entire offense.
Right.
Just unprepared to match Duke's physicality, unprepared to match Duke's toughness, and unprepared just generally for what this game was going to be about. That was the most disappointing thing after what I thought was an excellent performance from this unit a week ago against honestly a more talented defensive line. Right. They did not bring it today. And again, guys, from left to right, this isn't Joe Walt played great and everybody else played like crap. They all played poorly tonight, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it was there. I'm not going to knock their effort, but I'll knock their execution, and I'll knock the fire and things of that nature, because, there were times where it felt like they were just going to the wrong place and they were turning some guys loose, and they would double team a guy and let one guy come completely scot-free in pass protection. Like that was troubling for me. You know what I mean? It was like, there was one time where Pat Coogan turns to his left to double team the defensive end, and the defensive tackle just comes right through untouched. Like one-on-one, like we'll be, just pick them up, and so there was a lot of, and I think you said it already, there was a lot of confusion, it felt like, or indecision. I think that's a better word. There was indecision, and so they were a step slow picking certain things up, and that bothered me because I did think that they played well against Ohio State. Nobody is going to say that Duke's defensive line is better than Ohio State's defensive line. Nobody. And Notre Dame wasn't prepared to play against Duke. And that it leads to a bigger picture problem, with the preparation offensively for this game. Obviously, we've seen this line play better against better competition. So maybe this ends up being an isolated, situation, maybe, but it was very, very disturbing for this night. That was my issue with the whole thing.
They got their butt kicked, man. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, the first drive, they said, Dwayne Carter at 6'3", 305 pounds, you're our best player. We're going to put you at defensive end because we're going to make a statement that you are not going to be able to run the football on us, buddy. Like, they dare him. And Dwayne Carter, throughout most of the night, in my opinion, was the best player on the field for either side for a large portion of the game. Jamion Franklin played a good football game. Like that was two of the players that we mentioned all week as good players, man. Like Pat Coogan, Rocco Spindler, Zeke Corral need to come with their lunch pails ready to play those dudes because they're going to play hard and they're going to play physical and they're tough dudes. I mean, I think Dwayne Carter is going to be a 150 pick this year in the NFL draft, and Jamion Franklin is going to play in the NFL too in some capacity. Like they're players, but ultimately,
I love that kid. Can I say this, Ryan? I'm so happy for. I mean, I'm glad he didn't get a win tonight, but I love the kid.
He played so well.
And not only that, but like this is a kid who's had to deal with his dad battling cancer in college. His mom has battled cancer in college. He's done like fundraisers and stuff to try to help raise money for his mom who's sick, and the kid still steps up to the plate every day and battles his butt off. He's not. I mean, maybe he plays in the NFL, Ryan. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not an NFL guy, but like he's not a guy that's like I got to do this because I'm going to be a first-round draft pick.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Like this is a kid.
That's why he went back to school for 6 years. So,
This is a kid that plays the game because he loves playing the game.
Yeah.
And this is a kid that left Notre Dame, could have gone to any school, could have gone back to Maryland, got a generic degree. He chose to go to Duke.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love that kid, by the way. I do. And I understand why he transferred. Like, he got a raw deal, in my opinion. That kid should be playing for Notre Dame right now. And for all the stuff about, they need more beef up the middle. Could you imagine if you were bringing that kid off the bench for 15, 20 snaps and you were able to, with Howard Cross and stuff like that? Like, but that's a different story for a different day. And it wasn't this coaching staff that did that. So I don't want to go too much into that. But yeah, Ryan, they got their butts kicked on the edge, on the outside, but it was really the lack of preparation for what Duke was going to throw at them and the lack of adjusting once you saw it. That was the biggest head scratcher for me.
I would say it like this. I don't think that the coaches put the offensive line in general in a great position to be successful fully in this football game. But at the core of it, I mean, they just got outplayed for the most part. Like I didn't notice Blake Fisher tonight really, so I'm going to assume that he wasn't awful. Joe Alt had that one bad pass rush where he gave up a sack to RJ Oben in at the course of the game. But I'll phrase it like this. I think that Pat Coogan played poorly. I think Rocco may have played worse than Pat Coogan. And I think that Zeke Corral played his worst game that I've seen him play in 2 years. Like, I just think that he was very, very bad outside of the 2 false start penalties, which is just not hilarious, but like a center getting a false start is still like a mind blown that happens
twice.
Oh, I know. 2. And then, I mean, the one play, Dwayne Carter.
Oh, that was reminiscent of BJ Raji and Eric Olson back in 2008. You remember that play, Ryan?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like it was reminiscent of that.
He put him into the ground. It's like
now. I will
6 feet
say
under.
this:
Like, it was-
Zeke
yeah.
came back and battled after that. He still played poorly. You know what I mean? And that was a big reason why. That's why I said I'm not. When I say Audric didn't have a good night, it's not that I don't think Audric didn't play well. I think they should have done things differently coaching wise. That should have got him going. That was the other thing. You're getting your butt kicked inside. Duke's putting all this. Can I get a jet sweep? Can I get a reverse?
Can
I get a toss play to your speed backs? Like, you know what I mean? Like they're just
they're
that's
tough
the thing.
inside. So why don't we force them out of their comfort zone? Right. I mean, like that's the basics.
Why not use their, because look, Notre Dame's faster than Duke.
Remember the one play that they ran off tackle? I think actually what in the backside safety just crashes off the edge because he's not worried about a reverse or anything like. He just crashing off the backside edge, blows up the run.
Yeah, came up the backside. Yeah,
and the thing is, Vince, one of the things we've praised. This is what was so frustrating. One of the things we've praised the Notre Dame staff for the first 5 games was just how good they were designing run game coming in and adjusting the run game during. And we really didn't see any of that tonight. That was frustrating.
That was very frustrating. Very frustrating because like I said this early on, it was like this felt like last year's run game and with no adjustments, and we were praising the run game all year until tonight. And again, I hope it's an isolated problem. Like it's not something that's going to fester because for the first 5 games, that wasn't the case. And now in game 6, it's like, nope, creativity in the run game's over, and that was incredibly frustrating. Incredibly frustrating.
I will say this, the one false start that they called on the field goal attempt was a total
That was not a false start.
That was a total bullcrap call. This officiating crew sucked. I know it's a shocker because it didn't cost them the game. That's why I didn't talk about it earlier. This was a terrible officiating crew. They did get the punt right. I mean, that the one that they called out at the
but
one.
You're not allowed to review it.
Are you not really?
They said that on the thing. They're like, oh, that's our bad. We're not allowed. They should not have been allowed to review that play.
That's what the expert said.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Can you believe that? Like, I would have liked another 19
Vince,
yards.
It's an ACC crew. Yes, I can absolutely believe that.
Fair enough.
I would not have admitted that if I was on TV. By the way,
no.
Like,
No.
Well, you know what? I give the officiating expert some credit for being like, you know what? I was wrong on that one. You can't review that. Because he threw those ACC officials right out of the bus.
Duke got called for 2 penalties. One of them was I think they were both personal fouls. Or I mean, one was the person pass interference. The other was a personal foul, and they were very obvious calls. That's the only 2 penalties Duke got called for.
He threw down in front of the referee.
You should have called 3 holdings on Duke at least. There's 2 other pass interferences that they should have called. It was a horribly officiated game. I just wanted to throw that in there now because we're not blaming that for why the game was the way that it was bad. But I'm so sick and tired. Like if I'm Jack Swarbrick, I'm on the phone saying, like, you want to know why we're not ever going to join the ACC as a full member? It's because every time we have one of your crews do our game, we get completely screwed. Like completely one-sided
and
officiating crews.
Targeting to somebody's hip.
Yes.
That was
that actually is a legit rule. Like that's like you can't leave with the crown of your helmet if you hit the guy in the thigh.
Right.
Now it just goes back to that should not be something that is an ejection. And now Jordan Pataho can't play the first half of next week's game.
Right.
But like that should not be a penalty. That should not be an ejection. Like if you want to make that a penalty because you want to stop guys, stop leading with the crown of your helmet. Fine. But they need to get rid of the whole ejection part of it. That's not the kind of play that should result in a guy missing the rest of this game and then the first half of next week's game. Right? Like I get it because he got hurt on the play. Like it's a guy could go paralyzed on that kind of hit. Putting your helmet into a guy's bone, hip, that's dangerous.
I hate ejection though because it's not like he was intentionally trying to
hurt
Riley Leonard.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like
Correct.
he's leading helmet to helmet where it's like that guy's trying to cave that
dirty hit
head in, right? Like it's not that.
It's not like the kid from Louisiana Tech that like curb stomped the guy in the game yesterday. You know what I mean? Like that's why the ejection part, right? The ejection needs to be getting rid of it because of that and because of just the subjectiveness overall of the call. Right. But anyway, that's enough for for that.
Can we talk about one player in particular? Can I throw this here? Can we do it?
Go for it.
Mitchell Evans, man.
Oh, I kind of thought he was a freaking stud tonight. So, hey, can we all agree that Brock Bowers is the best tight end in college football?
Sure.
Can we all
Oh,
agree
yeah.
on that?
Oh, yeah.
That's easy.
But can we
Yeah,
also
it's
agree for the last 2 weeks that Mitchell Evans is making a strong case for
He's
number 2?
TE2. Yeah. Like, if you're putting your team together.
30 something this week, right? Like
Yeah.
130
And Ryan, they were clutch.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Like-
gosh. Yes.
Like, go ahead,
He-
Ryan. Talk about Mitchell Evans, man, since we forgot about it.
He looked like a young Mark Bavaro tonight, man.
Yeah.
Like he looked like he was dragging dudes all over the field. It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was absolutely insane. I'll say this about Mitchell is that I think that I underestimated his pass game potential
Yeah.
in the past. I did because I thought he was a good, solid receiver, but like you hadn't seen it coming into this year, and then early in the season, it was more about holding space early on.
Yeah,
and
it was.
explosive plays, and he wasn't dependent upon to be that guy until the last 2.5 football games, right? But now you're seeing like a evolution as a football player here because he's already been developing into a pretty good blocker as well. Like he's done a good job in the run game.
Although I thought tonight he was off on the run game.
Well, I think everyone
but
was off. in the run
everyone,
game.
exactly.
Everyone
Yeah,
was
but Ryan, like,
Fair.
okay, first catch converts. His first catch was, nice. It set up the first drive, right? So that was good. Then his next catch converts a 3rd and 13.
Yep.
His next catch converts a 3rd and 3. And then late in the game, last drive of the game, he converts a 3rd and 10. I think he had another catch, I believe, that converted a 3rd down. Like,
Yep.
that's the other thing, too. It's one thing to put up numbers, Ryan. That numbers are fine. Numbers are great. But like you and I always talk about numbers gotta mean something too, right? There's a lot of hollow numbers out there in football, right? But Mitchell Evans' numbers tonight, not at all hollow.
No.
What did he finish with tonight? He had,
He had 6 for 134.
6 for 134, and 3 of them moved the chains on 3rd down. 2 of them moved the chains on 3rd and 10 or longer.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 2 3rd and longs, he caught the ball short of the sticks on both of them. But he said, "I'm getting the first down, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry."
Right.
That one-handed catch he made was one of the most, and we've been spoiled with tight ends over the years, right? You
Yeah.
talk about Michael Mayer recently, you go back to the Tyler Reiferts, the Cole Kmets, the Kyle Rudolphs, like all those
Yeah.
dudes in between. That may have been one of the best plays I've ever seen a tight end make at Notre Dame. Like that was sensational.
And he's
man.
done
That
it 2 weeks in a row,
catch-
Ryan. He's done it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
It wasn't a
That-
fluky
yeah.
catch.
When he like
Like-
caught it and tipped it to himself, and
Yeah.
I mean, that was next level, man.
And he made that last
incredible
3rd and 10
hands.
on a bum ankle because he
Yeah.
was hobbling around out there. So, that's the thing is the kids showed a lot of heart tonight. I'll give them that. They did. They showed a lot of heart tonight. And Mitchell Evans is the one guy that I thought brought it from start to finish. I will say this too. On the 3rd and 10, do you guys remember the second drive of the game? And they ended up punting on the drive. It's when they lined up for the field goal, got the false start. Did you see the blitz pickup that Audric had on that 3rd and 13 that even gave Sam time to get that ball off? It's a heck of a
There was 2 free rushers, right?
Yep,
The first one, and he bought him just enough time. Yeah. I remember
Yep,
That one.
that was one of Sam's best balls of the night because he
stepped into it.
with a guy in his face.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that was a heck of a. He had a couple throws like that tonight where he threw balls where he had dudes in his face and he was able to complete those throws. This was the most pressure he's faced all season. Duke was in the backfield a lot of this game. Let's move over to the defense, guys.
Yeah.
It is hilarious. Somebody literally posted something on the board saying, "I don't care what happened. Al Golden's still an idiot and he needs to be fired." It's just Ryan, you called that one so well.
Yeah, you did.
Second half,
Points. Yeah.
second half, Duke put some things together in the second half. They made adjustments. Notre Dame was slow to adjust to them, but also Duke's a couple times made some plays, and we saw some poor execution in the second half. But I'll tell you, the first half, let's stick with the first half. Notre Dame scouted Duke out very well in the first half, and they did so in 2 ways, Ryan. Number one, they did a great job of forcing the give on the power read stuff early. They forced Riley to give that ball almost every time, and then they just let Maris chase, and he smoked him every time. And they also did a great job mixing up this is what we asked for. Stop just bringing it every single time.
Exactly.
They would walk up and drop. They would play just base defense and let their linebackers run in the first half. Then and they also brought pressure as well, which I thought made the pressures more effective, especially early. Riley Leonard never got into rhythm until like late third quarter, fourth quarter, and that was more running than it was
I
throwing.
was going to say it wasn't throwing it.
Yeah, Riley Leonard went 12 of 27 throwing the football, 134 yards. They did a really nice job of playing the levels concepts that we talked about, how Duke likes to run. And it went 12 of 27, and one of those balls, the early catch on Benjamin Morrison, that was just a heck of a catch.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
it was so underthrown that Benjamin Morrison didn't have a chance. But I defensively, second half run defense was not good, but the first half run defense was brilliant. And for much of that game, that's what kept the points down in this game. I mean, Duke barely had over 300 yards of offense.
Yeah.
And the defense gave them a shot. And here's the thing that's different from last week. The defense made stop. Couldn't make a stop when it mattered. This game in the second half, they were bending. They were giving up drives. They were giving up points. But when they needed to make a stop at the end, they made the stop. I didn't think they were going to at first because it looked like that's the moment when I thought Notre Dame was ready to quit. They had a couple runs and they were dragging Notre Dame guys.
Yep.
And then they stepped up and made those plays, and that was
that was
big.
I was pacing at that point. I know you're shocked by that. And I was thinking to myself, well, here we go again. This is an opportunity for the defense to step up, and they're probably not going to do it. Like that. That's where my negative mindset went. Like I felt good about Notre Dame going down and scoring, but then it was like, well, 30 seconds, 3 timeouts. Yeah, that's plenty of time. You know what I mean? Like that honestly was my thought process, and they stepped up big time in that drive because, Duke had plenty of opportunities in that last drive. They had plenty of opportunities, and Notre Dame made plays in that on that last drive, and obviously ended up turning them over, and that whole thing. And so that was refreshing. Frankly, is what that was. That was refreshing from the defense.
Well, it just kind of felt like, Vince, they exercised a few demons on that last possession from last week.
For me.
And I didn't think they were going to do it because I thought Duke made some really good second half adjustments. They started pinning Notre Dame inside. Notre Dame was beating Duke up the middle all game. I mean, Notre Dame's defensive tackles were
lights out.
Awesome. Howard Cross was an absolute monster. He had 3 pressures on the first drive alone, guys.
His best game as a Notre Dame player.
And that's saying something, guys, because he's had some pretty good games this year.
He's had a good year.
Let's be real. Howard Cross is playing like an All-American, and not just tonight. Yeah. Tonight was the best. They needed somebody on defense to step up and ball out tonight, and Howard Cross is like, I got you. I thought Riley Mills was also very good tonight, but Howard Cross, this was probably the best defensive line game I've seen a Notre Dame guy play since Jerry Tillery against Stanford back in 2018. Like this was Howard Cross was brilliant, and I thought the whole defensive line in the first half, guys, was excellent.
Yeah,
like until Duke's last drive where they got into field goal range, they had 68 yards of offense prior to that last drive in the second quarter, and that helped keep the points down to the point where but the defense also had the reason I say it wasn't just the offensive staff that didn't have the team prepared, it was also defensively, because I still don't think they play with tons of fire, but like the 3 offside penalties were all just stupid mistakes. Like the Javonte Jean-Baptiste goes offsides and then he just stays there.
Yeah, get back.
He had plenty of time to step back.
You can ask my dad and my friend were here for a little bit during the first portion of the game, and I'm like, why is he just stopping? Like, get back.
Right.
It was just like he got there and he's like, oh snap, I'm in the neutral zone. Maybe I'll get back in a couple seconds.
And he starts leaning back with his upper body, but he doesn't move his foot. And then Jordan Patel just flat out lined up offsides.
He's lined up offsides. Yeah.
Cam Hart just lines up offsides. Yeah. It's like there was just the whole team. There's just an utter lack of discipline tonight. This team just played with no discipline tonight. We saw too many missed tackles.
That was disturbing, though. Like the lack of discipline. I know we haven't really talked about the penalties. The penalties are, and it's not just tonight. Like the penalties are a problem with this particular team, and that worries me on a lot of levels
Well,
because they've had so many penalties.
I'll be honest, Vince. Like some of the penalties from previous weeks don't bother me. Like the Josh Burnham penalty against Central Michigan didn't bother me. He thought the guy had the ball. He's playing hard. Like
Sure.
I'm from the Bobby Bowden school of if you get a penalty because you're playing hard, not dirty.
I get that.
Know,
The
it's like it's different than like
were bad.
These were all self-inflicted, no discipline,
like the false starts.
Right.
Like, are you gonna tell me that the environment at Duke literally had you false starting like
it's
crazy?
Bro, you're a fifth-year senior at corner, a senior defensive end, and a sixth-year senior. And that's the other thing. It wasn't Josh Burnham jumping off sides. It wasn't Donovan Heinisch. It wasn't your sophomores and your freshmen. It was veterans doing that tonight, guys. Like the veterans stepped up, Ryan, to your point, and made the big plays at the end. But it was also the veterans making most of the really silly, no focus penalties in this game. But back to the defense, Ryan, I don't know about you. I loved the first half game plan from the defense. I'll be critical of the adjustments here in a second, but I got to tell you, man, I thought Al Golden had this offense completely scouted out in the first half of this game.
They were fast in the first half. Like they were Brian, I would say like this, like the Maris Loifow's first half, right? It was just like that was like that exemplified that first half for me of like they were just so much faster than Duke in the first half. It was like there were some times where Riley Leonard would try to keep the ball to the outside, and it was just like Maris just came out of a blink of an eye and made these crazy plays working to the perimeter. Like they were just much more athletic than Duke, especially in the first half. But the difference is that adjustments happened that we'll get to, right?
Yep.
And it became a little bit more of an even playing field as far
you can
as
dive. You can lead into those, Ryan. You can carry us into those after you finish like that. You go ahead and like when you're ready, lead us into that part too.
So like the first half, Notre Dame, I thought was playing so relaxed and so free that they were clearly the more athletic team. Like there was no doubt. Like Riley Leonard, who's a tremendous football player, him trying to work to the perimeter, it's like Maris Loifow's faster than you. Like that's just kind of what the impression that we were getting there. And I felt like just everything was just so quick processing, the Xavier Watts interception and getting pressures on the quarterback. And they were moving so fast for the first time, not first time, that's super hyperbolic, but for the first time, at least it felt like Notre Dame was clearly the faster team defensively, the offense against a good football team, right? In recent years, like
not because they were triggering them.
Right.
But like some of the best plays that Maris had in the first half, Ryan, they were, like I said, they were doing a good job of hitting the end, and they did it a couple different ways. So when they would do the power read, they would kind of come up and they'd go after Riley Leonard and force him to give. And then they just let Maris chase the sweep. And every single time he outran the running back and stopped him either at or behind line of scrimmage. Every single time. Yep. And then what they also so then Duke starts doing some of their inside zone read stuff. And I thought Notre Dame did a great job of crashing their end. And then they kept looping Riley Mills around, and he was blowing it up. So like I thought when it came to the read stuff, the only runs the runs that Riley Leonard had success with, guys, were in the second half on like scrambles, but then designed like quarterback counter.
Yeah.
Like this is things like Duke was getting butts kicked up the middle. So in the second half, they started doing stretch and they running counter. They started pinning Notre Dame inside and then getting outside of it. And we never saw Notre Dame's offense make that same adjustment.
Right.
No. And then of course one of the long runs and like you said, Maris played great in the first half.
Amazing.
Rough second half. And the first long run was he just stood there and let the guy block him. Like he had no clue what was happening. And I got to tell you, man, I'm so frustrated watching this linebacking core whenever there's like this team does not know how to play counter. I don't know why teams don't run more counter at them because the linebackers literally just run at blockers. With like Jack Kaiser did today, what J.D. Bertrand did last week. No awareness of where the ball was on that one long counter run in the second half. No idea where the ball was. Just ran into the linebacker. He had outside leverage. Or not the linebacker, the puller. Just ran into the lineman. We saw
Yeah.
Maris do that tonight. We saw JD Bertrand do that last night. We saw Jack do that tonight. Like they're clearly being taught to do this. And I just don't make, now I understand you've got a responsibility and I've got to play contain or I got to do this, but like you've got to have some awareness to the ball, man. If you're a linebacker, there's got to be some level of awareness of where the freaking football is going.
Right.
And now again, Benjamin Morrison had one of the worst games Benjamin Morrison's had, especially from an attacking standpoint. That was terrible job by him on that particular play, but it shouldn't have got there. The linebackers got to show more awareness. And I thought Duke made some really nice adjustments with their running game in the second half to get the ball outside. And say, look, Notre Dame's blowing up our zones, read zone stuff and power read stuff. So we got to do some things to get Riley Leonard going. And they did. And it helped them get a couple touchdown drives going in the second half.
Yep.
Well, I think working into the second half, one thing that I think was, first off, hats off to Coach Johns, because I thought that he had made tremendous adjustments in the second half. I think that he forced Notre Dame to get a little bit more uncomfortable seeing different eye candy in the second half. There's a lot of pre-snap movement, trades, motions, all that type of stuff, which that's Maris's weak spot. It is. Yeah. But I think that's linebacker's weak spot, though, in general, is that movement, I think, really messes with their eye discipline. And that's where you kind of get them guessing and not fulfilled in the role and being super aggressive. Like, I think that's where you lost them. And then when you're not good on the second level, more things are going to get to the third level. And I thought that in the second half, they also missed a bunch of tackles in the open field where it was just like, guys, you can't.
Which I'm so sick of talking about that every single week. Ryan, so you were correct on Kevin Johns. This is where I thought Kevin Johns made a mistake. I thought he was late to do that because we saw that. I actually have a note here on the third play of the game when they ran a slant on it was 2nd and 10. They ran a slant in front of Xavier Watts. And my note was empty. Notre Dame was not sure how to line up because they went empty and then they did a shift. And Notre Dame was like, who's going where? We don't know what to do. And they didn't really go back to that for a while.
Yeah.
And I like a team like Notre Dame that just wants to run to the football the way they were tonight and blitz and stuff like that. Like I want to get them communicating and talking and motions and shifts and things like that are going to do that. They started doing that in the second half, like the second touchdown pass. It was embarrassing. Yep. This was about simple. It's just like they brought a guy in motion and just ran him on a slide because they knew Notre Dame wasn't going to be able to communicate properly to pick it up. It just was ridiculous.
I know you're not an NFL guy, but it was like that happened to the Eagles twice in the Super Bowl. It was just easy motions and just coming across, and then they just lose where they're supposed to be. I mean, it seemed very funky on that touchdown too, because it definitely seemed like you're in man coverage, which makes sense, obviously in the red zone, right inside the 10 especially. But for whatever reason, no one followed the motion across. Right. So like, it was just like, guys, like usually if you're man coverage, someone's following that motion.
It looked to me like Thomas Harper thought he was passing off. Like to me, in that close to the goal line, to me, if he goes in motion, once he goes across, Thomas Harper needs to be able to communicate to Xavier Watts trade. Right. And then he picks up, because what do most teams run in that situation? Some sort of mesh slide. Mm-hmm. Right. That's going to be hard for Thomas Harper to get across over top or underneath all those guys and still get to that slide. That's going to be a tough thing to get to. That most teams in that type of zone, it's still man, but it's like, hey, we're switching. You take that guy, I'll jump the cross. And they didn't do that, and it resulted in obviously them getting a big play. But go ahead, Vince.
I was going to say, I was actually surprised it took them as long as it did to really get Riley Leonard involved in the run game, because they weren't getting anything in the run game in the first half. And I had two group chats going. I had this one with you guys, and I had the one with the Stiers boys.
Which one's your favorite?
Well, the other one, they actually listened to me. So I'm joking. No,
this isn't the show for pansies, Vince.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, at 8:15, I just looked it up, the timestamp at 8:15. I'm like, I bet they get Riley Leonard going on this drive. And I think it was like their second or third drive of the game. And they didn't get to it till the second half.
Yeah.
Their offense could have gotten going a little bit earlier if they would have gone to that, I think, a little bit earlier. But,
Vince, what was a troubling comment? I'm sorry to cut you off, but like a troubling comment at halftime with Marcus Freeman was they started getting the quarterback run game going with like that last drive in the first half, with Leonard. And I remember they asked him, it was like, how have you guys been able to stop the quarterback run game or whatever? And he's like, well, they haven't really run it until the last drive. And I'm just like, that's not the answer I wanted to hear.
It's also like incredibly factually inaccurate. Like, okay.
Right.
Yeah. I'm actually watching that last 3rd and 4 play now. I thought that was a really nice call. Very nice call. Because like Duke had been, this is where Al Golden adjusted. Duke had been crushing with that counter stuff all night long.
Yeah.
And they ran a counter, and Notre Dame brought DJ Brown off the back, and they blitzed Xavier Watts off the front. So they basically said, we're not going to let you get this ball outside. If you're going to do this, you're going to have to cut it vertically inside, and you're not going to run on us vertically inside because our defensive tackles are kicking your butt. Nana had a really hard crash on that too. That was one of the better calls Al Golden had in the second half.
Yeah, they crashed.
That play had no chance.
They crashed from both sides. They did a good job.
Exactly. They said we're going to force this ball back in, and they both crashed high.
Yes,
which meant they were prepared for the quarterback coming outside. They didn't crash level. They didn't run at the back. They ran at the quarterback. Right. So like Xavier Watts stayed on a track to Riley Leonard until he saw the ball in the running back's hands. Then he squeezed on the ball. I thought that was one of the best calls Al Golden had in the second half, was that third. And it ended up being a big play, obviously. So because they lined up to go for it on 4th down, and that's when they did that squib kick. But that was, I mean, look, if you don't make that call right there, guys, you've got 2 timeouts left. If you get the ball back,
right,
you're going to have less than a minute to play.
Oh, that was huge because you had 2+ minutes. You had 2.5 minutes, I think, when
and you still had 2 timeouts. You still had 2 timeouts left.
Yeah.
But if you don't make that stop there, guys, it'd have been a lot harder to win that football game.
No doubt.
A whole lot harder to win that football game.
No doubt.
So, again, that's what good teams do, right? Like you start off well, they make adjustments and have some success. You counter and you make the stop when you need to. That's coaching, right? That's coaching. And Notre Dame did a nice job with that tonight, I thought, defensively. But man, you're the 2 interior defensive tackles, Riley Mills and Howard Cross, combined for 20 tackles tonight, guys. 20 tackles. Howard Cross's stat line is just insane.
It's insanity.
He had 13 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, a sack, a quarterback hurry, and 2 forced fumbles. Number one, they had Notre Dame. The official stat line had Notre Dame as having 2 quarterback hurries, which is why I always say ignore the freaking quarterback hurries. Howard Cross had 3 quarterback hurries on the first series alone.
Right, exactly.
2 forced fumbles, and guys, Notre Dame finally recovered a fumble.
They should have had the first one too, man. They should have had the first one too.
Yes. Yes, they finally recovered a fumble. I cannot believe it. So I'm sorry, I'm watching this last drive.
His stat line just blew my mind because I knew he had a good game. We all watched it. He had a great game.
Yeah.
But that's not the stat line for a defensive tackle.
Like, a nose tackle.
Yes.
A nose tackle.
That was crazy to me that's what he ended up with. And I'm very curious to see what Pro Football Focus has for pressures, because it's probably in the double digits for him.
Yeah. There were 2 plays that Xavier Watts really frustrated me on missed tackles, like really bad missed tackles. Other than that, look, I talked on Wednesday in my midweek rundown, Vince. Xavier Watts has to step up in this game. They need him to step up in this game, and he did. Again, 2 bad missed tackles.
Sure.
You know, I feel like we always have to preface that, because if we say a guy play well, they'll point to the 2 plays where he didn't play well, right? Which I shouldn't do that. I always tell you not to do that, so I shouldn't have done that either. But like Ryan, you can break this down, Ryan. But the first interception was just mastery by Xavier Watts.
He played that so well. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was an over route where they were trying to basically make the safety pick to either carry the one crossing routes or to stay there, right? And he had been carrying the crossing route. He was the if I'm looking at the offense, he's the right safety, right? And he's carrying the cross across. And Riley Leonard, I think, read it actually pretty well at first. You know, he's like, okay, Watts is carrying that guy. I'm going to throw the other crossing routes right underneath of him for a big gain. It was brilliant, I think, actually. I don't think it was a fault of Riley Leonard on that throw at all, actually.
He got baited.
It was a good decision.
He got baited. Yeah.
But Watts carried it, stopped his momentum, came back down, and jumped this crossing route, which I thought was Just
Yeah.
a tremendous play.
Yeah.
It really was. And he almost had another one too, man. I mean,
Yeah.
he had a little
Oh,
more help on
yeah.
the second one.
Ugh.
But like, I mean, ball skills and coverage today for Xavier Watts, I thought were fantastic. They
Yeah.
really were. And that first interception, though, man, like that was such a heady veteran play, great instincts and ability to finish on the football. Like it was tremendous.
Not gonna lie, I was really hoping that his offensive background was gonna get him a few more yards. Like as soon as he got hit, he went down. I was like, "Come on, man!"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. He finished the game with 8 tackles, a half a tackle for loss, an interception, and that interception gave them a feel. I mean, if you think about it, Notre Dame's this speaks even worse about the offense.
Oh my gosh!
The 10 points they did score the first half were set up by a 34-yard gain on a fake punt and an interception that gave them the ball inside the 20.
Yep. I think it was inside
the
the 15, wasn't it? Didn't it start on the 13? Is that right?
Something like 12 or 13.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Oh, that was
so that was frustrating. So I'm watching the last drive, watching Rico just. I was so proud of my wife last night. So tonight watching the game. So on that play where Rico caught the ball, she was like dealing with some with the girls, and she looks up and she sees Rico's fighting. She's like, "He's got to get out of bounds." She's like, "Oh wait, he was in the middle of the field." But like her instinct was like, I was like, I love this woman. But guys, I thought Xavier stepped up and played well. Like Ryan, I think I said. I know that I said Maris had to step up in this game. This was because why? He was going to be a big part of containing the quarterback run game. And when he played well, the quarterback run game was not good.
Yep.
So that was important. And then when he made the mistakes, they didn't. I still get frustrated by the inside pressures that they bring and then just leave inside leverage on slants. Like, I don't know how teams don't just have a slant called. Like, I'm going to have a slant or a quick under route called every time I'm in second or third down against Notre Dame.
The middle
and
of the
then
field,
the times
man.
they do bring something, I'm going to hit it. Because they bring the inside pressure, but then they also just the leverage, the way they play that route with the second. And it's not Thomas Harper's fault. That's been happening. It happened last year and every time. And that's something that frustrates me. Again, make them beat you with an outside throw, because you know what they could not do tonight? Every time they tried to throw at Notre Dame, a wide fade or an outside go, the exception of one time, they could not complete those balls because most quarterbacks can't complete that when there's someone in your face.
Right.
That's something that continues to just drive me a little nuts.
Well, I mean, it drives me nuts, especially because I feel like there's just so much soft coverage inside as well. Like, I felt like the plays that they were able to make in the passing game, which wasn't much, by the way. What was it? 12 completions for like 130 something yards. Like, it wasn't a great day for Riley Leonard, obviously, in the passing attack, but it's easy stuff, man. You're just letting them be able to just, it's layup stuff. Like, it's just incredibly frustrating to me. It's like, why are we not pressing this team? We talked about this all week as far as like this team wide receiver wise, nothing special. Like, it's not, they're a bunch of good, solid football players, but they're not guys that are going to create massive plays consistently, electric plays. And I feel like for the most part, you showed that when you want to dictate that, like, they're not going to create a bunch of big plays, but then it was just some easy RPO slants and some easy stuff over the middle of the field where I'm just like, come on, man. Like, just be aggressive on this team. You don't need to. Don't treat them like they're Ohio State, man. Don't treat them like they're Ohio State. Come on.
Benjamin, I thought, again, had a rough night. I thought Cam Hart played well. I don't know if he got hurt late or what.
Yeah,
I didn't see him in the
last drive.
Yeah. So I have a feeling something happened to him.
I feel like he was not in the last
Yeah.
couple drives, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
I thought DJ Brown was
fine,
good tonight, solid tonight. He was where he needed to be.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Hey, thank goodness Ramon Henderson knows how to recover a fumble on a botched punt return.
Oh my gosh, that was
one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life.
He made up for it in the next play, or next series, but yeah.
I think it was the next play, but still.
It was the very next play.
Yeah, right.
But still.
Right. Yeah, just overall defensively, guys, I just got to say, the defensive line, this was the first time we've seen them get turned loose all year. Yeah. And this is exactly what we've been hoping for. Because what did we say, Ryan, about this offensive line when you and I broke this team down? This is a very experienced, veteran, sound group. Even without Graham Barton, their interior, from left guard over, those are all graduate players that have played a
Hornibrook
lot
and
of football.
Jacob Monk, and
Right.
it's good. It's
And
good unit.
Notre Dame's defensive line had them working backwards almost the whole night. And they had to the only way they could get into yards was to go outside.
Yep.
I mean, that's really it. So hats off to the Notre Dame defensive line. They were finally turned loose a little bit tonight. And they did well. And even like there was the one play that Javonte Jean-Baptiste, what did we talk about on Thursday, Ryan? We said, look, in some of those third down situations, put those two guys up the middle and tell them to get their hands up. And it wasn't a third down, but there was that play where, Javonte Jean-Baptiste come off the line. He sees the quarterback throwing. He just gets his freaking long. He's got really long. He's 6'5". He's got really long arms. Get it up and bat it down. That was the one that Xavier Watts almost picked off, right? I believe. Was that one?
It was that one, yeah.
So
Javonte Jean-Baptiste, I would say this is that I think he has been an even better pickup than I thought he was going to be, because I don't think he's going to stuff the stat sheet, but he's been a really solid to good all-around player all season, like run stopping, getting some pressure when he has that opportunity. He's been a good football player.
3 tackles tonight, Ryan, half a tackle for loss, a pass breakup, and a quarterback hurry. It's his official stat line.
Just a good player.
And you know what surprised me, Ryan? I don't know if he's gotten bigger or what, but he's been much better setting the edge in the run game than I thought he was going to be. A lot better. That's not a stat thing, but that's just but that's important.
He's definitely gotten bigger. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he's playing aggressive too, man. Like he's playing with some violence in his hands. It's been really. I expected him to come here and give Notre Dame a little pass rush boost at times. Like that was kind of my expectation. When I heard he was playing big end, I was kind of like, we'll see what that looks like. I'm not 100% sure about that, right? But ultimately, he has been a great addition to Notre Dame. Again, his stat sheet at the end of the year, I don't think is going to be anything crazy or fantastic. But you're going to look back at Javonte Jean-Baptiste and be like, that is what you want to get from the portal consistently. Like a player that comes in and is just good. He's just good, causes no issues, and he's good.
What's wild, Ryan, is he's actually, I think, consistently been better. He's had some good pass rushes, but he's been consistently better as a run defender than he's even been as a pass defender, which has surprised me. And he played a role. Nana didn't play a ton tonight, but he had some really good edge sets, I thought, tonight in the couple times I noticed him. Josh Burnham had a chance to make a huge stop late in that drive. He had that guy behind the line. He just exploded off the edge. We're going to need to see. I thought Junior also had a really nice edge set on one of those tackles for loss late in the game. He came off hard. He actually did a decent drop on that one slant. It just was a great ball by Riley Leonard. He did a nice little zone drop, and
according to the chat, Riley Leonard can't throw. Let's be honest, guys. So yeah.
Well, he couldn't tonight because of the Notre Dame defense.
Sure.
But no, that kid's talented. I really hope he's okay. That's a talented.
Yeah, that part stinks. It kind of took the wind out of my sails on that last. Like, it was a great play by Notre Dame, and I was just like,
did you guys see Sam Hartman at the end of the game? Did you see that?
Yeah. Well,
he waited outside the tent.
He cut his interview off. He cut his interview short so that he could go see how Riley was doing. That wasn't for cameras, and that wasn't, he legitimately wanted to see how he was doing.
I got to say this too, man. This defensive interior is a lot different against the run when Gabriel Rubio is part of the rotation.
He got some pressures tonight. Yeah. Like, I don't know what his stat line ended up being, but he got some pressures tonight, and he was getting into the backfield, and he was making some plays without making plays, if that makes sense. I'm so happy. Like, I guess he was credited with 2 tackles.
That's it. I mean, no pressures. That's why I was saying
I'm sorry. I saw 97 in the backfield, man. I saw 97 in the backfield an awful lot when he was in there. So he is a big part of why this defensive front is who they are, even in a limited role.
Literally.
So just overall, guys, as we kind of wrap this up, I just statistically, Notre Dame outgained Duke 381 to 323. Big part of that was because at the end, Notre Dame was under 300 yards going into that last drive, which is
they had 97.
Duke's defense is good, guys. It's not that good. Okay. It's not that
agreed.
Good. Notre Dame's third down offense, big problem, 3 of 15, defense 6 of 15. Most of those came in the second half. In that back and forth, penalties 12-2.
That's the
2 on Duke is poor officiating. They should have had 5 penalties at least. The 12 on Notre Dame is 99.9% on Notre Dame. There might have been like one call, maybe you could go back and argue, but I mean, to me, that's on Notre Dame. That just it symbolizes the lack of focus that this team had tonight, in my opinion, coming in just from a preparation standpoint. It shows errors in preparation, in my opinion, in the game. But end of the day, guys, they did what they needed to do. They made the plays they needed to make. Before we wrap up and go to the super chats to end things off, guys, because we got a bunch of them tonight.
Yes, I see that.
The special teams has been one of the big. I won't even say it because I don't want to be that guy but like,
it's been disappointing.
My worst fear has been realized. But here's the thing: it's even worse because the thing I did say about Marty Biaggi, I did not like that hire. You guys know that there were two guys I'd have gone after: Justin Ludwig of Vanderbilt, because he's a good friend and a very good special teams coach, and I would have thrown $1 million at LeVar Woods from Iowa. He may not have left, but that dude's special teams are phenomenal all the time. But the one thing I said is, the kicking operation is going to be good because Marty Biaggi has a history of getting the punters and kickers to be pretty good. And Notre Dame is 500 through 6 games on field goals. And had Bryce McPherson's been good, but the kicking operation again just is a problem. I mean, you had a new guy out there, and it's same old. You throw Dylan Devison under the bus, doesn't get laces out, whatever. You put a new holder in, results the same. Yeah. And the stuff we see on special teams just is head scratching. Now, look, the fake punt tonight, that was great.
That was massive.
That was phenomenal. Yeah. That was great. But outside of that, this special teams unit just continues to leave. And not all this, you can't put all this on Marty Biaggi. It's kind of like we say with other positions. At some point in time,
you still got to execute.
Lead a horse to water, you
still got to execute.
You got to go make the kicks, man. But it's been frustrating seeing the big step back that Notre Dame has taken on special teams this year in every phase of this thing.
It's been really strange because I think punting's been pretty good, and it was tonight for the most part, and it was good tonight. Kicking, I mean, the second field goal, Schrader almost missed that one too. I mean, that thing.
It barely went in.
I actually thought he did miss it. To be honest with you, I thought he kind of kicked it so high that they couldn't really tell that he missed it. That was my concern.
Probably. But I mean, honestly, like field goal kicking, it's going to come back to haunt you at some point. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? Like that's a spot that you want to be consistent in. I mean, it's not great right now. I will say one other positive outside of the punt, out of the fake punt that I saw tonight is I finally saw Jeremiah Love returning kicks, and it actually looked okay with a couple of them. Yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. Let him return kicks, please. Right. Let that guy
12 and 20. If 12 or 24 are not your kick returners, you're not doing it right. No disrespect to Devin Ford. And actually, if you look at the way Devin Ford played last week, Ryan, and a little bit this week as a lead blocker, him as the second guy back there that's the lead blocker would make a ton of sense. You're not even using him correctly because he's proven to be a good blocker.
Yeah.
Now I understand you want to get that guy some touches and all that, but at the end of the day, guys, you need somebody with juice back there. Yeah. And if it's got to be Jadarian Price or Jeremiah Love, and right now Jeremiah Love is their most explosive player.
So you are losing in way too many games. You are losing the field position battle, and that's all special teams is about field position. And not screwing things up, as you can attest to. I'm sure.
Well, putting points on the board when you need to. I mean, that's the other part. But yeah, you're right. The field position battle is.
And Notre Dame hasn't been winning the field position battle, man. Like, there's been so many drives this year where it's just like.
Well, they won it tonight. They just didn't capitalize on it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, they had it early, but yeah, it was. Needs to be more consistent, man, and it is not consistent at all right now.
So, guys, we're going to do the Super Chats next. This is going to wrap up sort of our breakdown of the show. Before we hit to the Super Chats, do us a favor, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, share this podcast. And if you have not done so, sign up for the message board at boards.irishbreakdown.com. We had a bunch of Super Chats tonight, guys. We have 58 of them. Let's get right to it. Eric Montoya, Buckeye fan here. Great win for Notre Dame. Enjoy the win. Don't focus on the things you need to clean up. The team had to dig deep to pull out the win. They did that tonight. Well, this is what we do, Eric. I appreciate you, man. But this is kind of what we do. That's what we break down. That's just kind of the channel we have. But at the end of the day, man, he's right. This team had to dig deep to pull out that win on both sides of the ball. And
it didn't feel like that was going to happen. I can tell you that.
They did it. It was weird for me because I went from they're still going to win. They're still going to win. They're playing like crap. They're still going to win.
Yeah, I felt that way
until they went up 14-13, and I was like, they're going to be fine. They're going to go down and answer. And then Notre Dame did
do
not anything.
answer. Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy, that's when I got a little bit nervous. All right, Vince, you wanna get to these? I'm gonna start bringing these up, man.
Okay,
We're gonna
there we go.
Rapid fire as best we can.
From Mark, I ask this genuinely: did Notre Dame keep trying to run it up the middle and also have little time in the pocket? Big win, but feeling bittersweet. Thanks.
Well, to me, there's never any bittersweet feeling when you win a game, barring a guy getting hurt. As bittersweet, but you lost your best player, in the fourth quarter. A win is a win, whether you win by 40 or win by 3. In the stat sheet, a win is a win. You learn from what you learn from things and you move on. To me, the only thing that's bittersweet is if you don't make the changes next week and come out better.
Right.
That's going to be the key. And go
there's
ahead,
one
Vince.
guy that learned. There's one guy that learned from last week that I know for a fact learned something from last week, and that was Sam Hartman, and that was very clear.
Yeah. I mean, just the whole unit as a whole. I mean, the receivers. That's when they did step up. Well, a couple of them. Mitchell Evans stepped up. Audric stepped up. They made the plays when they needed to make them. That's the key. Your favorite guy, Vince. Here you go.
What's up, Trash? Thank you very much. I wish I could say that I'm used to mood swings, but I can't. I watched the Bush push on TV. I saw the Navy defeat in person. I watched all of 2012. Go ND.
That's part of being a fan of a sports team, man.
Seriously,
I'm a Bronco. I guess I'm still a Broncos fan. I haven't stopped by. Don't watch the NFL anymore. You go from the drive and beating Cleveland Browns to then losing the Super Bowl 2 weeks later. One year your team's great, the next year your team isn't. That's part of being a fan. But you just talked about losses, and my whole thing is, but they won. That there has to Ryan. That stands for something. Look, we can complain about all this stuff and things got to get fixed and things that I'm pissed off about. I mean, our chat was not friendly tonight. We were all kind of just the whole team is pissed.
Yeah,
what's going on here? But they won the game. As long as they learn from it, and we'll know that next week. But guys, they stepped up, and again, we can't ignore the fact that this game is exactly what we said they needed to do last week and didn't. They stepped up and did it, and now they're 5-1, and they're going to be ranked in the top 10 probably, and then go into next week against an undefeated Louisville team on the road, and they now make the adjustments and make the changes because you've got 1 week to get yourself ready. Because I can assure you of one thing: 14 points, 21 points, ain't gonna beat USC.
Oh no!
I'll tell you that right now.
No.
If you only score 21 points against that USC defense, then you are absolutely terrible offensively. So.
Yes.
And they were close to it tonight. All right. We are happily independent. I like that.
Love that one.
Big win. Hope Leonard is okay. Kid embodied Marcus Aurelius. You're only a man. We need to relearn how to tackle and block.
Relearn. They haven't shown that they've learned how to tackle. To be honest with you, the last couple of years. I mean, this has been a problem for the last 3-4 years.
For a while. And multiple.
And let's be honest, tackling in college football is a problem all around.
Tackle in the NFL. Football in general.
You can't tackle in practice. Exactly. It's the one thing you have to do every time a ball is snapped that you're not allowed to practice, really.
Correct.
You're not allowed to practice. If you're in the NFL and you're tackling all the time, you're getting sued and the NFLPA is getting mad at you. And then, the same thing in college. And to a degree, I understand it, but coaches are going to eventually have to adapt and find ways to still teach tackling without being tackling 5,000 times, but it's frustrating.
Yep.
It's frustrating.
But I also hope that Riley Leonard is okay. Yeah. That's very sad.
I'm actually kind of hoping Duke's off next week. Let's see. Do they play next week? Duke is off next week. Good.
That's good.
That's huge. And then they get NC State at home in 2 weeks. So at least he'll have a week to get healthy. That whole team, and they're going to need that because this was a physical game on both sides. I don't think it was a lot of fire, but I never once felt the Notre Dame didn't play hard.
Oh, this was physical, all right. Yeah. They're gonna need their treatment tomorrow. When they get back in town and they get
both teams, Vince. The training room and the cold baths and all that other stuff.
Oh
the benches and the seats and everything are going to be pretty full tomorrow for both teams.
Agreed. Alan Watson, a game in the past that Irish usually stumble and lose. Double win with the comeback and an LSU loss? We haven't brought that up at
LSU
all.
blew a fourth quarter lead,
Yes,
by the
they-
way, to lose that game.
That's familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, those two games were polar opposites. Because in one game, like the defenses were garbage. It was a very unphysical game. It was just like a 7-on-7 backyard, 2-hand touch type game. And then the Notre Dame Duke game was sloppy offense, physical defense, good coaching on defense, bad coaching on offense. The Ole Miss game was great. Mike Denbrock put on a clinic, and the only reason people are going to talk about it is because Lane Kiffin put on an even better clinic today offensively. I mean, it was that was
whoever had the ball last was probably going to win that game. I mean, that's the way it felt. I didn't watch the last quarter and a half that closely because I was watching the Notre Dame game, obviously, but it was on, and it just points, just going up and down the field.
And Ryan, Jaden Daniels threw two of the best go route over the shoulder balls I've ever seen in my life in that game today.
The touchdown one was real nice from about 25 out. Like he just dropped that number 11.
Yeah.
I mean, he dropped the bucket, man, like just with no room on the sideline. I mean, right in the corner of the end zone, just dropped it in the bucket.
That kid is a freak show, by the Brian Thomas, number 11. That kid's like 6'4" and can run.
Now, there was another touchdown I didn't think was
that's not the one I'm talking about, Ryan. Not the one to him. He dropped one to the Ely kid that was just a dime over the let me go find it.
Or Lacey. Is it Lacey?
Lacey. That's who it was. It was the one to Lacey on the left side.
Yeah.
I didn't even know where the ball was. The kid just running, and I'm like, did he throw that out into the stands? Because I couldn't see the ball. And then the kid just went like this, boop, touchdown.
Luckily he basically handed it to him on the platter because that kid can't catch. So that was great.
Ryan, that would have been impossible to drop. Like it literally would have been impossible for that ball to drop. There's no doubt.
That kid is the weak link of the guys that can catch on the roster for sure.
It's so. I mean, that's one thing I did watch. Those LSU receivers come off the line with purpose.
Yes,
they do.
Neighbor's a good player. The Thomas kid's a freak,
and not just talented, but they come off the line with. There's intention to what they're trying to do. There's an urgency to what they're trying to do.
What position group is Denbrock coaching down there?
Tight ends. He's the OC, but tight ends.
I know he's the OC, but I didn't know what position. Okay.
Yep.
Mason Taylor. He's helping Jason Taylor's son. So.
Trash with another one. I'm tired of people saying Duke beat Clemson. Clemson beat themselves. Easy to lose if you can't hold on to the ball. If they still had DJ, they win. Wow, whoa. You had me until that last sentence, man.
First of all, they did beat Clemson, number one. Yes, Clemson did make some big mistakes in that game, but Duke took advantage and Duke forced some of them too. So they won by 21 points. That wasn't,
right.
It
was they beat them.
Both things be true, Trash.
Right.
Clemson shot themselves in the foot a lot, but Duke also won that football game.
That's right.
Things can be true.
That's right. The last part. Wow.
Yeah, you lost me on the last sentence, but that's okay. Thanks anyway,
Trash.
man.
That was trash.
David Carpenter.
We love you, Trash, and you make a lot of great points, but
that wasn't one of them.
It was not your.
All right, buddy. David Carpenter with the 2114 super chat. Had to say it this time. Love that one.
I wish this is now that he did that. I wish that we did have the LSU Ole Miss score because that would have been a much better super chat.
Don't worry, USC is right around the corner.
That's
Okay,
true.
Don't worry.
That's true.
What a win! Finally, we pull out a good victory against a good opponent. It's been a while since we've won a close game like this. Here's hoping we start improving from this point.
Yeah, because a lot of the wins over ranked teams last year, in good teams like the North Carolina game, they weren't ranked, but that was a really good football team. Notre Dame dominated. They really controlled BYU the whole game. They dominated Syracuse the whole game. They dominated Clemson the whole game. They, the closest thing to this was South Carolina, but even then, Notre Dame dominated that entire second half. If it's not for a pick six by Tyler Buckner, that game's a blowout at the end of the game. Yeah, this is one where, they had to show some grit and come from behind and make that kind of play. Like everybody said, Sam Hartman's yet to be stopped in a 2-minute drill. True, but none of those other 2 minutes had this kind of pressure. I mean, it was like 21-0 against Navy. It was like, 35-3 against Tennessee State when they had that one. Like, there's never been a moment like this. And you know what? His body language was the exact same on this drive as it was when they were up 21-0 on the 2-minute against Navy. And that's what you look for, is that right there, guys. Absolutely.
I agree.
David Hess, thank you. Tobias was rough to watch tonight, guys, but 30-0 against, or 30-0 against the ACC.
That's true. I forgot. I didn't even think about that because I've been thinking about all the other stuff. But yes,
we always forget about that.
Regular season wins against an ACC opponent.
That's crazy.
pretty good.
Wild.
David Kirkpatrick, when it counts, I cried. This is the toughness that y'all said we needed.
100%, David. I mean, 100%. 100%. So can I tell you guys a funny story of how the game went tonight? So like I was sitting there and so we're on a delay, but I've got the stats, like the stat broadcast.
Oh,
so
you
that's
did
always like
that.
showing the play before it's on the stream. And so I was like, man, I could not hold. I had to pee really bad. And I run into the bathroom because I'm like, they had spiked it and all that. I just ran to the bathroom real quick. And my wife goes, they're about to score a touchdown. They're about to score a touchdown. I'm like, because I'm running in and I'm like, they haven't snapped the ball yet. And she's like, look at your thing. It says 19. They're going to score a touchdown. She was going nuts.
She's one
Cheating.
of those.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great. But so I'm like watching, like, how are they going to score? And I'm like, did they seriously just run the ball? Like, did they just run that in? Like, Mike, we didn't talk about this, but that was my question. Were they trying to set up for a field goal?
Yes. He said that in the post game.
Play for a field?
He said that.
Why?
He said that.
Why?
Yeah.
He said he wanted Aldrich to.
He said he wanted Aldrich to go down.
Yeah.
What? They were at the 30-yard line. That's a 47-yard field goal.
He's great from 40 plus. He can't hit the close ones.
No, he's not.
He can't hit
He
the
has
close
a strong
ones.
leg, but he's missed just as many long kicks as he's missed short kicks. Yeah, that was I didn't catch that. That was a very poor decision. If that's what
he can kick a football over a mountain. You have no idea.
This is one of those ones where I'm glad Audric. It better be a wide mountain.
Yes.
This is one of those ones where I'm glad Audric did not listen to his football coach and went for the win. That is the polar opposite of all the aggressiveness he showed earlier in the game. Like no, I am not putting that game on Spencer Schrader's leg. And look, and I don't mean the kid's trying his best. Right? I've no ill will for Spencer Schrader whatsoever. I'm not trying to make fun of him or whatever, but I'm sorry. He has not done anything to make anyone on the planet think that the game should have been on his shoulders. He's 4 of 9 on the season.
Yep.
The fact that you're playing to have him win the game and not Sam Hartman and not Audric Estime and not Mitchell Evans, that's a coaching mistake. And I'm glad it didn't come down to that. That would have been a holy moly.
Great run by Audric, though.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But yeah.
Jacob Staley, Brian, you hit it on the head. They needed to finish. Your article was spot on. They finished, and you're a blessing.
Thank
Brian.
you, Jacob.
Love IB, love Notre Dame, and go friggin' Irish.
Well, I did an article today, and it was like kind of looking at the stat matchup, but it really came down to Notre Dame's defense needs to finish. They've done a lot of great things this year, but in some certain situations where they needed to finish at the ball, finish the quarterback, finish drives, finish the game. And they did that tonight. And hats off to them.
Yep.
I like this one.
410 JP. How about money making Mitch?
I like it. I dig it.
He's definitely helping himself. I can tell you that much.
He's a true junior. I had a Notre Dame coach a couple years ago tell me, this was when he was a freshman going into a sophomore year, that he's going to be a day 2 draft pick. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, buddy. Sounds good. Whatever you say. It's still a little early, but keep doing this. And
it is, but come on, man.
Because he's a big kid too. He's like 6'5", 250 plus.
He looked very Cole Kmetish tonight.
Yeah,
so
that's a good comparison, Ryan. Very good comparison.
Cole was huge, man. That kid was massive.
And and Mitchell's he's not explosive, but he's smooth.
Yeah,
a little bit more faster than you think too. But anyway, here we go, Vince.
Sherwood, regardless of how deep are the abysmal lows I experienced during a game like this, they are quickly assuaged by this show. It brings me back to reality and back from the cliff. I texted another group chat I was talking in, a bunch of buddies of mine from my old neighborhood, and I was like, hey guys, therapy session begins at 11:15. Come on in.
You know what I mean? Another group chat? Another one?
I was cheating on you a little bit. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Yep.
I'm gonna start like liking every one of your comments in the chat now, just to make sure that you're heard.
I know, right? I almost was like, I'm sorry, what? When he says, wait a minute, what? What'd you say? But in all seriousness, though, about this one, guys, when Notre Dame faced 4th and 16, I'm doing my show prep, like what we're going to talk about. It was not going to be pretty.
No, I had a lot of negative things written down.
Not going to be pretty.
I was taking my frustration out on my notepad.
It was not going to be pretty.
Yeah. Carlton Butler.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Carlton Butler. 0 fight in TM5. He's not that guy. I know.
He wasn't tonight, and he's going to have to step up. Guy, first of all, he's a true sophomore, right? Who didn't play much last year. That's not to excuse it, but that's to say, let's not write him off just yet, right? He still has more career catches and yards and touchdowns at this point in his career than Miles Boykin had at this point in his career. Through 2 years, Miles Boykin had 6 catches, right? Now, he's got to step up and play better. There's no doubt.
And nobody said he had a good game today.
Right.
Nobody said he had a good game
sophomore.
today.
We don't need to be writing the kid off just yet.
Exactly.
He's going to have to respond, though. I will say that. He's going to have to respond. We're going to learn a lot about Tobias over these next couple of weeks. There's no doubt.
David Kirkpatrick, thank you very much. Both teams played through what most would crumble over. When it counts, like y'all said, would be necessary. Love you guys. Thanks for what you do. Go Irish.
Thanks David. For that, David.
I love Appreciate you too, that. David.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, Grant.
Ryan's getting all sentimental tonight after the dub.
After 1 o'clock, things get weird, man. What do you want to say?
Yeah, you're not wrong. My dad always told me nothing good happens after 1 o'clock in the morning. Just saying. So
did he actually?
Oh yeah, he used to tell me that all the time. I think it was to make sure I came home on time, but still. K Grant.
I'd have been like, cool. Then I need to know what the timeline is for when I'm supposed to be going out. Okay, let's do it.
Just hitting us with the 3-leaf clover.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you very much.
Vincent Stark, best name so far. This team frustrates me. I get it, man.
I get it. I'd rather
this game should not have been this.
Everyone should be frustrated by how the offense played today. Yes. But you know what? Again, they did what they needed to do. Like what you said earlier, like, we're not trying to just spin. No, there's no spin. The offense played like crap tonight for 57 minutes. Yep. When they needed to make a play, they did, and that's something you can build off of. But you got to build on it, though, right? And we'll get on it. We'll get into that during the week. We didn't do this, guys. We completely didn't do this. I dropped the ball. So
we kind of did. I think
it's because it's so obvious.
Yeah, say the words. It's obvious on both sides of the ball. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, right?
Yeah. Like if you're going to give the game ball for an entire game, it's a no-brainer. It's Mitchell Evans on offense. Like Rudy Wave 84 with super chat. Thank you very much, Rudy. I love his avatar, by the way. Did you guys see that? That little Rudy figure?
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious. Game ball for the entire game is Mitchell Evans. But part of you kind of wants to be like, but honorable mention to Sam Hartman for that last drive, which also included a big play from Mitchell Evans, by the way.
Yeah, it's also true.
On third down. But like you just kind of have to say like, but Sam deserves like a little, special mention because we're not handing Mitchell Evans the game ball after a loss now because of that, right? And defensively, if anyone says anything other than Jamion Franklin, you're not allowed to talk anymore.
We're not giving game balls to Duke.
Yeah. So somebody say that. Yeah. Special teams wise, who gets the game ball for me on special teams? Honestly,
hold on, Brian. You just gave the game ball to Jamion Franklin.
Did I say Jamion Franklin?
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Howard Cross. Holy crap!
Wait, what?
You said 1 o'clock. Weird. No, my bad. I'm watching the game still, and Duke's on defense. Howard Cross the third. If anyone other than Howard Cross the third gets the game ball, then you're not allowed to talk anymore. And I need to stop talking now because I just freaking said Jamion.
That was awesome.
Notre Dame.
That was fantastic.
I know we could go with Jeremiah Love for the game ball on special teams, but I'm sorry. That Ramon Henderson fumble recovery was huge.
Oh, so huge.
Huge. He gets my special teams game ball for that play alone. That could have been a completely game changing.
It could have been play. That was deep
right
in
there
in your territory.
I'm not giving any special teams player a game ball this week.
I get that.
Wow,
I get that.
You're just mean.
I'm sorry.
Jacob Staley. I'm going to go Staley. Jacob Staley. He's been an OG. He's been around forever.
Yes.
I probably butcher his name. I was on Game Chat on IB and I complained. But how good is Duke? I feel like we need an upon further review, and Duke is legit.
We will definitely have an upon further review tomorrow for sure. And Duke is a good football team, and I think he kind of said that.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They are.
Like, I kind of read this like Jacob's complaining, like, but how good is Duke? Why? And then I don't know, like I'm reading that. It's kind of like he's then saying now upon further review, they're good. Am I reading that correctly? Are you guys reading that the same way?
Well, he's saying Duke was legit. So I mean, I think he clarified there at the end, and he's right. Like, look, Duke is a really good ACC team. We're gonna see how that goes.
I'm sorry, Irish 17. Think Brian already handed him the ball. No take backs.
I wouldn't take it back from Jamion Franklin either.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
You're good. Hey, give me another ball. We got lots of them. Give me another ball. And why am I in the Duke locker room? What is going on here? I'm so confused.
You're 315 pounds, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
Does he look bigger, or is it just because he was wearing a single digit? Like he looks.
No, he's
bigger
gotten a
than he
little
was at
bit
Notre
bigger. I
Dame.
mean, yeah, he's gotten a little bit
bigger.
bigger, but the single digit helps.
Single
for
digit
sure.
is sweet on defensive
I
tackle.
love it, man. I love it.
Man. Love it.
Chief Brody, 4th and 16, gonna haunt Duke like 3rd and 19 haunted Notre Dame. You're absolutely.
Yep.
If we're doing a Duke broadcast right now, yes.
I thought they were going to kick the field goal, man. I really did. Will not lie to you guys. I thought they were going to kick it.
From that, it was just a look. I'm telling
like
you, 5 yards closer.
5, right? Like they.
No, I think it was more than that, wasn't it?
What?
I think
Like
they were on the. I think they were at the 47. So what? 64 yards.
But hold on. I don't think it was.
Which
you think it
what
was.
are we talking about?
The
When
4th
they
and
went
16.
Yeah, they
like
were
65 yarder, I believe.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been very long because it was 4th and 16. They got the 17 yards to get them down to the 30. So they'd have been at the 47 yard
so
line.
57, 64 yard field goal.
64. Yeah.
I mean that if they were 5 yards closer, I think they go for the field goal.
If he would have done that, this would have been the worst post game show ever. Worse than Stanford last year.
Kirk Herbstreit said that he was making them from 70 pregame.
Can I say this? I was bummed I wasn't at the game today for the reasons I wasn't able to go to the game day. I was really bummed about that. But good Lord, now I understand why people after road games come into the chat so cranky because they got to listen to that idiot talk the entire game.
Wow.
He's awful. I didn't realize he was this bad. He's terrible.
He's well spoken, but he's a bad analyst.
He intelligently says stupid things throughout the game.
Correct. Yeah,
like like that master BSer that just that guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And then, but he's just if you actually know the topic he's discussing, you're like, this guy's a freaking moron. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
42 years of my life, Brian.
Oh my gosh,
master BSer.
He's terrible. I'm gonna get over that because you're not a BSer. You're one of the most honest people I've ever met in my life.
Wait,
but
you don't look a day over 32. Man.
He's terrible. Kirk Herbstreit sucks. I'm sorry. I know that's not very classy, but he's awful.
He's a national guy who doesn't know, like, you know what I mean? Like he does like flybys of these games, and you can tell.
Just like some of the stuff he would say, you're like, dude, you're not even a football guy,
right?
Like when you say things like that, like, what do you talk? I expect a color guy or a play-by-play guy to say something
I feel like Kirk's gotten worse too because I feel like he was pretty good when he was just focused on like college football,
but like long time ago,
right.
You're just doing too much. I don't.
Because he came up doing this. He came up doing play-by-play. These type of games.
Now he's spread too thin. He's spread too thin. You know what I mean? Like he does game day in one location, they fly him out to another. Like,
not today. He had no excuse today, man. He had game day 7 hours to get ready for this game, man.
I agree with you. I'm saying
very pro
too much,
right? Like,
the whole ESPN
very pro
was Duke.
The game day thing I get, right? Because it's at Duke, and I mean, but like, he sucked. He really sucked.
Connor Grant, Duke played insanely hard. Their coach is for real. Not happy with how we played, but grateful for the win. I think that sums it up.
Yeah, I mean that's. I still say the defense did a lot of things that we should be able to look back and say, man, they for about 2.5. Well, I say for 3 quarters, the defense played really well. There was a period like middle of the third to middle of the fourth where the defense kind of sucked, but they finished well and they started really well, in my opinion.
Shelton Hager 91. Thank you very much. I'm not one to vent on the game chats or make nasty posts on the message board. Thank you for that. But dudes, this team makes me so excited and so frustrated at the same time. It's like being married. That's how I feel. Like
I have no clue.
Nope, this is Vince saying this
because my wife is watching the show. I have nothing.
I know mine's not. I will take this one on 100%. Because that's how it feels to me. Like I could be just elated and happy, and then all of a sudden it's like I apparently did something wrong, and now I'm depressed. Like that's how Notre Dame football is for me.
The frustrating thing, guys, is like this team 2 weeks ago 2 weeks ago, we're talking about a team that set an all-time program record for most straight games of 40 points or more.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, we were having that conversation. They've scored 35 points combined in the last 2 games. Now, yes, those are good defenses, but not that good of defenses.
Right.
Yep.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
Agreed. They need to get back to what they were doing the first few games.
Yeah.
Creative offense, folks.
Yep. Yeah,
Caleb,
I'm not. No, we're not. No, we're not.
Oh,
doing
I didn't
that.
even get a chance to
No,
read it.
we're
All
not
right.
doing that.
Cool. Got you. Mike Huff. Marcus said Audric should have went down on that TD run like he's never seen the kicker kick, losing faith in him.
I mean, the last part, I can't go with you on that,
Right.
but that would have been a very poor decision, in my opinion. We've seen good coaches make poor decisions like that. Do I need to remind you of the fake punt that Kirby Smart ran against Alabama in the SEC title game a few years ago, right? Coaches learn from that.
Yeah.
Kirby's not making that mistake today, right?
Mhm.
He made that mistake then.
Sure.
You guys remember the fake field goal that Nick Saban ran in the title game against Clemson, where he had his kicker lead blocking on Christian Wilkins.
Listen, I've seen kickers try to block,
and that was
it's
6
ugly.
titles in for Nick Saban. Okay,
Right.
So, you can. Here's the thing that I say, Mike, is I'm with you. We be critical of the job Marcus Freeman did today. Be critical of that, but
Man.
there's a line that you can cross to where now you're going too far. Right?
Yep.
Be critical, but it doesn't always have to be. Well, I've lost faith in him. He did a bad job today. He did, for the most
This
part.
week.
There's
This week.
couple calls. Well, that's a byproduct of it. Yes, but a
fair
couple of the calls that he'd made today were not good. Luckily, Audric didn't listen to him. But no, you can't go there, man. Can't go there. Like, again, same guy knows I'm doing a freaking post game show. I swear to. Why you call me at 1:30 in the morning? Why you call me at 1:30 in the morning anyway?
I was gonna say I don't think anybody's ever called me at 1:30 in the morning.
Nope. I think I had my kid that early, but I don't even remember. They all run together. All right. Philip Berardi. Is Audric dancing too much behind the line?
Well, tonight he was, but it was because he had to.
Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't get downhill. He couldn't get downhill. I did think last week there was a little bit too much of that. He was like looking for the right hole to hit. And, today it was just like, okay, they're all coming. Where am I supposed to go? But yeah, I would say he did. Just
his dancing didn't prevent him from hitting holes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that was the case in this.
I thought tonight some of that stuff actually helped him turn -3s into +1s
or zeros.
The touchdown on the last drive was like that wasn't blocked that well. It was
he got hit at the line of scrimmage.
That was not where that ball was supposed to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. He got hit at the line of scrimmage, man. So
Right.
yeah.
Brent Sopel, Freeman said in his post-game interview he was playing for running the clock down and field goal after the 4th down conversion. Seemed jokingly annoyed. Estime scored.
I'm having I didn't hear that, Vince. I'm having a tough time with that. Like,
I mean, he said it, but I don't know
really
if he was
bothering me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, it'd be one thing if you were at the 15. Like, even with a bad kicker, you're at the 15. That's going to be a 32-yard field goal. You're at the 30. You've got timeouts left. You're at the freaking 30. It's a 47-yard field goal. That's I mean, I can't.
Florida Irish, Sam Hartman with a Heisman moment. Estime coming in clutch, so we didn't rely on our kicker. Need an inside the 40-yard walk-on kicker ASAP. How about they finally getting a fumble recovery?
Yeah.
Go Irish. They've got guys on the roster that can hit the short stuff. I am fairly confident of that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they've got like 4 kickers on the roster.
If Sam Hartman has a Heisman moment, I hope it's in a couple weeks against USC. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he did great in that final drive, but can you have a Heisman moment in a game like this? Like the way he played?
I think you can.
Okay.
Yeah, because now, again, it's in context of an entire season, right?
Sure.
In the context of you're not winning the Heisman because you went 15 of 30 for 222 yards and no touchdowns or a touchdown?
No touchdowns.
Right, none, right? Because Audric had
0.
Did Audric have all 3 of them?
He had 0 touchdowns. Audric had 2.
Who had the other touchdown?
There wasn't. There was 2 field goals.
2 field. There you go. Because they went for 2. That's right. That's why
Yeah.
I'm not remembering who had the third touchdown.
Well, he threw it to Flores for the
right.
2-point
But
conversion.
so
He did
so
do
like
that
this is the
one.
first time in forever Sam Hartman hasn't had a touchdown pass. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
because
true.
of this game that he wins the Heisman, but if Ryan, to your point, if in 2 weeks he outplays Caleb Williams, or you're going to look back and be like, but could you have won the Heisman if you didn't have this 97-yard drive at the end of the game against Duke?
Right.
That's my point. It's got to be part of the entire story, but he won't win it because of this game. Because this, to me, basically, what this game does, Ryan? This game kind of negates last week's game, and now it's about what do you do moving forward. But right now, I'm not worried about Sam Hartman winning the Heisman. I'm just worried about Notre Dame beating Louisville at this point in time.
Usually Heisman moments happen a little bit later in the season as well. It's like
Yeah.
the recency, like, oh,
Right.
wow, what a great moment. Now let's move on.
And
to
it's got to come against a bigger name opponent, to be completely honest with you, too.
Duke doesn't.
Right. As far as, and when I'm thinking like that type of thing, it's like, it's the one where you're like, this dude's going to win it, or this dude's going to be in New York.
Right.
But this will be part of the story of Sam Hartman if for some reason that's
happens.
Fair.
That is what they will play. That'll be the reel, to be
the
on the
heart,
reel.
The fourth. Like, you're telling me if he's in New York, you're telling me they're not going to talk a lot about that 4th and 16 run against Duke,
right? Yeah,
but he won't win it because of that moment.
But it'll be part of the part of it. Okay, I agree with that. Josh Phillips, too many penalties once again. Ugly win, but Irish prevail in the end. Hartman showed heart in the end, and one positive was Mitchell Evans.
Mitchell Evans has been a positive for 2 weeks in a row. Absolutely, Josh.
Yep. John A1, our guy, Braylon James, did he even get one offensive snap? Nope. I don't believe he did.
So. Don't believe he did.
So. Didn't see 14.
Jacob Staley, I disagree with one thing. If Ohio State was the better team, then Notre Dame today was the better team. If OSU deserved to win, then Notre Dame deserved to win.
Who said Notre Dame wasn't the better team?
I said they weren't the better team in the second half.
Okay, sure.
So perhaps that's what he's hearing. But we said that Notre Dame dominated the first. I mean, should have been way up in the first half.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said they didn't deserve to win the way they played in the second half, making the comment that Duke did, but they made the plays.
Right.
So I think you're taking a comment I made a little bit to the extreme. And if one of you starts singing Vanilla Ice, I swear to God, I'm going to lose it. Now I want to. Dang it!
I do rock the mic like a vandal. All right.
Ryan's like, what?
I actually didn't hear what you said.
Okay, good. It's probably best.
I did. I heard it. All right. Bob's an idiot. Mitchell Evans and that's the name of the screen name of the person, by the way. Bob's
for those listening on on podcast.
I just wanted to clarify that there's not like somebody in my room that's named Bob.
Yeah.
Mitchell Evans.
They're really mean to that Bob guy in the show, man.
Yes.
Dang. Wrong. Call him an idiot every time he has a question.
Oh, he says Mitchell Evans put in a bid for the Mackey tonight. Well,
he put a bid to be the runner-up. For the Mackey.
It's gonna be because I don't know if anybody watched the Georgia game, but Brock Bowers won the game for them.
Yeah,
just 150 something yards.
Yeah,
157 on 8 catches.
Yeah,
which comes a week after he went for 9 for 121 against UAB. Yeah. So
he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he don't suck.
Yeah, he's pretty solid. Nathan Hill, that game took 10 years off my life. I feel you, dude.
I'm with you, bro.
I do feel you on that one.
I went from 45 to 70 tonight.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
Caleb Collins, Parker pass scheme is atrocious.
Okay.
Brad S, glad we got the win. I feel dirty after the game, but I will take it. In your opinion, what are the issues with Tobias? What are you seeing?
Yeah, well, this question was put out before we dove into it. The thing with Tobias is lacking confidence right now, and he's playing with no urgency. And we'll dive more into this later, Brad, and I thank you for super chat, but those are that really comes down to that. And the urgency thing we've been talking about now for a few weeks with not just him. That's a receiver as a whole problem for the most part, but Tobias especially. Yeah. And he's going to have to figure some. I mean, yes, the coach has got to figure some stuff out and all that, but Tobias is going to have to figure some things out. There's no doubt. All right, Vince, let's go down to some more.
All right, Shad Lapay. I'll give him the little Lapay. Outcoached and outhearted. One on talent alone. The Notre Dame coaches don't know how to do in-game adjustments. almost more proud of their scheme than trying to win. Freeman post game, not trying to score, just run out the clock.
Okay,
There's a lot
here's
there.
the thing. This is something that frustrates me a little bit. I do appreciate the super chat, but like too many times as fans and analysts, we take what happens in one game and then start projecting it onto everything. Part of what you're saying as far as today is the adjustments offensively. I believe you're correct. I didn't see any adjustments in
Yeah.
that of notice in this game. But one of the things we've been praising this offensive staff for 5 weeks really is their adjustments. I mean, let's not forget a week ago, Notre Dame was down. This is why I say it's such a unique dichotomy to last week. Notre Dame was down 10-0 last week, right? And made adjustments, came back, made some plays, did some things.
Yep.
So while they did not do a good job of that today,
You can't say they don't.
one
know how
game
to.
doesn't mean
Yeah.
like, okay, it negates everything else that they've done, right? Like that's just, I mean, come on. And as far as adjustments, man, the Notre Dame defensive staff did make adjustments in the second half, which is why they were able to make the stop at the end that they needed to make. So I understand where you're coming from with some of those things. Out-hearted, out-physical, yes. Out-played, yes. Out-hearted, I would encourage you to go watch those last two series again and come back to me.
Trevor Rocket from he's a friend from Canada.
Yes.
Guys, I'm so glad that you go live on nights like this, especially after watching that game. A lot to clean up, and the boys need to get some wide receivers healthy. But beating the number 17 team on the road is no small thing. 5-1. Keep it up, boys.
First of all, Trevor, man, still praying for you and your wife. Definitely hope things are getting better, man. Number two, do we remember what happened last year in Game 6? You guys remember what happened in last year's Game 6?
Stanford.
There
we go.
At home against a team that went 3-9.
Yeah.
They lost 16-14. Did make the plays to win a football game. Right? No, they're not there yet. They're they got a long way to go. A lot of things need to be corrected. This team has also come a long way, right? And that's the thing. And I like what Trevor's saying is like going on the road, playing number 17 team, a lot of stuff they didn't do right, a lot of stuff they need to correct, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Point, Notre Dame beat the number 17 team on the road and had to come back and do it. And, yeah, happy about that.
Caleb Collins, run 12, 22, and 13. Use Greathouse, Tyree, and Flores. Don't want to see Tobias, Colsey, or Thomas the rest of the year. Thomas, they don't. Us right.
Use right.
Oh, use
Throw them
right.
all out. Throw them all
Yeah,
out, Caleb.
we'll keep
Just
moving
throw 'em all
along.
out, man.
Yeah, keep moving along.
To say, I
whatever.
Thomas had a good season.
I'm only bringing those up because he left super chats, and I do appreciate the super chat. But
fair enough. Logan Trailer, thanks for the super chat, super sticker.
Yeah, man.
Chad LaPay, coaches need to read the emotion and the momentum of specific players tonight. Should have more love than Estime. We know Estime is the man, not tonight.
Well,
Again,
I don't think it had anything to do. I don't think it had anything to do with emotion or momentum. It had to do with what was doing defensively. What were the things that would have been good counters schematically, and who was the best guy to hit that based on the certain circumstances of the game. So, I can agree with your conclusion. I have a serious problem with the process that leads you to that conclusion at this point in time. So, but
fans just tend to turn on people so quickly, man. Last week it's
Well,
Aldrich Heisman. This week it's Aldrich shouldn't be on the field.
To me, I think you can make a case that is, as I have done, that this is a game where they should have not relied as heavily on Aldrich at times in this game. But my point is they needed to do some different things because they needed to hit it quicker because of how Duke was playing and the fact that the O-line was getting their butts kicked. They needed to hit certain things differently. They didn't use the unbalanced stuff with Aldrich the way that they have in the past.
Right.
I thought was kind of
did they come out unbalanced ever?
I'd have to go back and watch. I don't remember.
I don't remember it at all. And
there were some things like that, but it has nothing to do with emotion or momentum. That's kind of my beef with it is we should not have seen more of Love than Estime. We should have seen more of Love. That's the thing is like Aldrich leads the nation in rushing, and there's people in the chat that literally want to bench him for a freshman. Yep. Jeremiah Love is good as a complement to Aldrich Estime. Correct. Go make him the lead back and you take away his effectiveness.
Yep.
He will be that guy someday. He's not that guy now. And we don't need to be reacting as emotionally to those type of things to where you're going to bench this guy, bench that guy. And the thing that kills me about Colsey is everybody, you know why people dislike Deion Colsey? Because they keep reading about how he doesn't practice well. Name me one game that Deion Colsey's actually played and gotten to football that he hasn't stepped up and make plays. Name me one time. So you're disliking him because he doesn't practice well, and you're disliking this guy but he plays well, but you're disliking it. It's just like some of this stuff is just, this isn't about you, Shad. Your conclusion I'm fine with to a degree. And he said, we know Estime's the man, just not tonight. I don't think the issue was Aldrich Estime. The issue was the run game. And that's the point, is run game was not working. The Aldrich stuff wasn't there tonight because of the line. And I think they could have done things with Jeremiah Love like they did last week against Ohio State to soften them up, and they didn't do that. And then you come back to Aldrich to put the game away, and they didn't do that. But at the end of the day, they put Aldrich in at the end, Vince.
And he made one heck of a play.
He won the game.
Exactly. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yep.
Mike Farino, that was a great game. Evans is a dude.
Yeah, he is. He's made 2 sick catches in a row.
I almost, and I knew you were going to push back on me, but I almost was like, Michael Mayer, who in our chat?
No, at that time after that catch, I'd have been like, "What? Yeah, me,
you know,
I get you. I get you. It'd have been on. I wouldn't.
But he had a heck of a game. There's no doubt.
Vince, you're a little salty tonight, man. You're like, no one listens to you. You're just assuming I want to push back on you. As much complaining as I was doing in that chat, come on, man.
I spent 8 hours at JV volleyball. All right,
yeah, I get you. Kevin Fetter's my dude. Thank you.
Yeah, man, big time super chat. Thank you, Kevin. He goes, I got nothing.
Yeah,
except a massive super chat.
Huge super chat, buddy. Appreciate you very, very much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Except fat pockets, apparently.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Clayton 47. Did Hartman call the Estime touchdown play? Looked like he didn't get the call in from the sideline, and he just told everyone to get on the line and called the play.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
It is. So. I think he actually has a point here because he wasn't getting the communication, and I remember thinking to myself, "You've got to be kidding me!" At this point in the game, why is there a breakdown in communication again? Like that whole thought process went through my head.
Could he have gotten 2 plays though? Like 2 plays? Like,
yeah.
I think he got.
Like he might have been looking for like, are you checking it? And if they're going like this, it's going to look like there's not communication.
I think he did get what he needed by the time he got to the line. I don't think he called the play, but he was definitely looking to the sideline, upset. So
speaking of, did you guys see Ryan? I know you didn't, but Vince, did you see the ridiculously, absurdly bad clock management that Colorado showed at the end of that game against USC?
No, I did not. I turned it off because I thought it was like 34-7.
Go back and watch the last Colorado touchdown drive.
Okay.
It was ridiculous.
Bad defense.
Rudy Wave 84 with another super chat. Props to your analysis this week, specifically regarding Duke's defensive line. I felt well informed while watching.
We tried to tell y'all. It's a good D line. They should not have whooped the Ryan. Look, you and I both talked about how good this D line. You and I have been talking about this D line since the summer, right? It should not have done what it did today to the Notre Dame offensive line.
Oh no, that's why I said partly earlier. It's like, yeah, the run scheme wasn't great today, and Duke's defensive line is good, but ultimately your offensive line got whooped. I mean, that's what happened, right? Like Dwayne Carter took your lunch money. G-Man Franklin had some big plays. Like R.J. Oben, son of Roman Oben, took Joe Alt's soul on one play. I mean, that happened.
Yeah. Oh, he came around the corner hard on that one.
Yeah, he did, man. I was like,
woo! That's going on his highlight tape because he just went around an All-American and a first-round pick.
Yeah. I don't know if he was good the rest of the night, but like,
that play was.
I beat Joe Alt. Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's when he gets to tell his grandkids about someday.
No doubt. When Joe Alt's like a 10-time Pro Bowler.
Right.
Let me show you what Grandpa did to that guy during Joe Alt's Hall of Fame induction. Yeah, he ain't a Hall of Famer. Let me show you guys what Granddad did to that joker.
Exactly.
You're the man, Granddad.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Can we watch the whole game? No. But this play was
sorry, we lost it all. We lost
it. Logan Trailer, thanks for the super chat. I feel this was a step in the right direction. Coaching needs to improve and improve quickly. Are you guys going to be at the game next weekend?
Yeah. Vince and I'll be driving down there on next weekend for sure. Yep. Absolutely. We'll be there.
Looking forward to it. I've never been to Louisville, ever.
Yeah. I was there in 19 The year they kicked. That's the only time I was there one year for a coaches convention, and then the 19 for the Notre Dame Louisville game. So
I'm looking forward to it. I saw Louisville Slugger is doing like Notre Dame themed bats that you can go buy at their factory, which I think is pretty sweet.
Very nice.
Vince, bring me back some bourbon, man.
Yeah, he's certainly not coming into my house. Trevor Rocket from Canada. Brian, Ryan, and Vince, thank you for shows like this, especially after a game like that. My wife is going through some serious health problems, and you guys and the IB podcast are a great distraction. Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy.
You're welcome, man.
She's definitely being prayed for. Hey, Vince, I met the lesser half of the John and Katie Keevers crew last week.
You met John?
I met John. Yeah.
Oh, he was at the tailgate.
He left Katie and home with the kids. So,
man, sorry, Katie.
No, real good dude. So, was glad to meet you, John, and thank you for the super chat, man. Appreciate you.
Daniel Flagstad, I'm encouraged. They played poorly on offense, coached poorly on. We coached poorly. No kick is guaranteed, and still won. This is what good teams do. We'll be fine. I like the positive spin, not spin. I like the positive attitude.
Yeah, because again, go watch the Auburn Georgia game today, guys. I mean, Georgia went through a similar situation. They were losing or tied with Auburn almost the entire game. They were down 10-0 at one point in time in the game. You know, they were down, 20-17 17-10, and then they took a lead, and then Auburn comes back and ties it, and they went down and won the game. You know, like these things happen, right? Good teams find ways to win. Go watch the Missouri game last year. Missouri outplayed Georgia way more than last year. Than Notre Dame got outplayed in the second half by Duke today. And Duke is a way better team than what Missouri was last year.
Yep.
No doubt. But yes, I'll be encouraged if I see them make adjustments next week. That's when I'll get. I'm encouraged they won. That's kind of it for now. I'm encouraged they won. I'm glad they won. They showed a lot of heart and all that.
The manner in which they won, yeah.
But they're going to have to show me some stuff this next week.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. Brent Sopel, if last week plus this game does not get these players and coaches focused to be the best that they can be, nothing will. Go Irish.
Appreciate you, Brent.
Yeah.
This is funny.
David Carpenter, I've seen butt fumbles, but now butt targeting?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, by rule, anytime you leave with the crown of your helmet, it does not matter
where it is on the body.
Part. Yeah. Right. Because the goal is the objective, so people understand the rule why it is. It's not just about protecting the hit-ee's head. It's ultimately, to be honest with you, the rule is more designed to protect the hit-ee or the hitter. You know,
that's true because
not lead with the crown.
That's why you teach tackling neck up, because you can hurt yourself going in like this.
Right. So, but yeah, that was just like, I was like, you got to be kidding me. They're going to call targeting for that.
I thought they were calling targeting initially on like Javonte Jean-Baptiste coming in.
Because he came in late.
Yes. Right. Because like, and they were showing the slow-mo. I thought they were about to show him like going down on the helmet, and then he ended up.
I was like, oh, he didn't hit his helmet. I was like, oh, he's fine. But
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Rally Q, Stucky's shine is wearing off for me. Coming into the season, I didn't expect the wide receiver room to instantly become a strength, but I expected more than this.
I'm a little frustrated by it. I mean, we'll see what happens when they get back to full strength, but I haven't seen the growth from Jaden Thomas I needed to see. I haven't seen Tobias grow. The two guys that they've played, freshmen, came in this prepared. You know, Chris Tyree has a good fall camp, and then we don't see him. You can't get Braylon James with his talent ready to play 5 snaps against Duke. Really? Yeah. Certainly better than what they had. There's no doubt about that, but that shouldn't be the standard.
No.
Yeah. And the thing is, we're seeing the same issues week after week after week. That's the thing that has me a little concerned. I'm not going to lie to you.
Jacob Staley again. Is this a coaching or a player win? Love that hat, V. Oh, that's me.
It's both. I mean, this is a team sport, guys. And again, Al Golden did a lot of things to put his defensive players in position to be successful today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, this is a team win. It's a team win.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And you can get this hat in the merch store, by the way.
Yes, sir.
So irishbreakdown.com, hit the merch store at the top. It's there, baby, and it's awesome. It's flex fit. I love this hat. All right. Fighting Irish fan 91. Thank you very much. Huge emotional rebound from heartbreak to jubilee. Let's see this team build on this And was anyone going to tell me LSU hired Van Gorder?
That's
Ooh.
freaking great.
Hey, that's
Wow.
top 5 defensive coordinator Matt House. I don't know
Yeah.
what you guys are talking about.
There were literally articles coming out this year calling him a top 5 and top 10 defensive
Oh,
coordinator.
oh,
It's just
a lot
it's
of
just
them.
absurd.
A lot
It's
of
just
them.
absurd.
Yeah.
By the way, Vince, this is probably the biggest emotional rebound I've had since 06 UCLA.
Wow.
Just really feeling like, dude, they're going to lose this freaking game. I cannot
Yeah.
believe they're going to lose this game. To
Yeah.
holy crap, they just won that game. And it was off a similar like weird play. Like if you'd have told me at the end of the drive, hey, they're going to win this game on a 30-yard touchdown run by Audric, and I'm
A
like,
busted run play,
yeah,
basically.
kind of like the scramble and hitting some Marja and all that. It just was like I'm just like, dude, they're going to lose. Like they're going to lose. And to holy crap, they just won.
After they when Duke went out and scored to take the lead, Notre Dame got the ball back and then, gave it back. It was like, well, that was fun. And then they kept getting first downs on their drive. I was like, they're going to bleed this clock all the way down.
Yep.
But the defense stepped up. So, it's good.
So this, I just got to, I'm sorry, I got to say this. Somebody just said, can someone please give me a quick Sparks notes on Van Gorder's issues? I'm too young. I'll put it this way. Everything people say about Al Golden that's not true is actually true of Brian Van Gorder. And so,
Also,
it's the best way to do it.
Also, if you're too young to remember Brian Gorder, you need to go to sleep, sir. It's one.
You were way past your bedtime, buddy. But no, it was always in that position. Terrible coaching. Players didn't like them. They didn't play hard. They didn't know how to tackle. They didn't play with good fundamentals, and just blitzing for just dumb blitzes. Like you guys still remember the third down 2016, the third down zone drop where they dropped Jerron Jones. They dropped Jay Hayes, a 295-pound end, under the hook curl on 3rd and 8, and dropped Jerron Jones to the middle of the field, and they were shocked that Donnie Corley came open for an in cut to convert the 3rd down. Like, holy crap, I don't know how that happened. It's because you're an idiot. That's how it happened. That's not on players. That's because you're the worst defensive coordinator I've ever seen in my life.
Questionable facial hair, too. Just going to throw that out there.
Yes.
All right. That great gif of him going.
Yeah. Trash. Estimate pulled out the night celebration. He did. He did one of these, and I was like, okay. I was just like, but there's still 31 seconds on the clock.
Yeah. No, there was no way they were going to go down. Like I had no doubt they were defense was going to get that one up.
My logical mind said that there was no way they were going to go down, but they had 3 timeouts, 31. I was like,
no, it wasn't happening.
Please no.
Like they don't have the receivers for it. Like if like last week Ohio State and Mecca's about to do some, Mars, but this group wasn't doing that.
Yeah. All right, Sean Michael, thank you very much. Hey guys, thoughts on Elko's delayed blitz scheme? Should AG try more of that? Also, Sam freaking Hartman. Ugly game, but never quit. Thanks, guys.
That's just not who he is. I don't know that he could implement it. I just you can look at what other people do and say, yeah, it's a good scheme. Jim Knowles did a lot of that against Notre Dame last year in the opener, if you remember. I just don't think that's who Al Golden is. But I would try it depending on what coverage you're running behind it. But yeah, I would try it. If I'm a defensive coach, I'm watching a lot of stuff that Mike Elko does. And that's been true for a while.
Yeah.
Especially because you run the same system as him too, 4-2-5.
Yes. So. Yeah.
Justin, here come the Irish. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I really do. Matthew Witham, thank you very much. ND should run for 500 yards versus USC. Best of luck.
I sure hope so. I just all I know is, look, USC's got a lot of problems on defense, but their defensive line's pretty decent. And I just watched Notre Dame's offensive line get their butts kicked by Duke in a way that they shouldn't. And Duke's got a good D line. They don't take that the wrong way, but just like right now, I just need to see them do well against Louisville. That's all I'm concerned about right now. I am not even remotely thinking about USC at the present moment. They got to show me they get back on track next week against Louisville. I just think this was a bad game for the O-line. I do.
It was.
I do.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not going to read too much into it. But anytime you do that, I got to see you bounce back before I'm ready to say they're ready to go.
Notre Dame also should have ran for a lot against USC last year, and they did.
That's true.
So.
That's true. Although I'll say this, if USC tries to implement the same defensive game plan this year against Notre Dame that they did last year against Notre Dame, Sam Hartman will throw for 500 yards in that game.
Chris McCall. Hi, guys. Sad to say, similarities to Bob Davies' tenure are glaring. Great recruiting, good defenses, mediocre offenses. Defense is the only consistent side each week. What?
All I'll say is this. Notre Dame's played 6 games this year. Their offense was really, really, really good in 4 of them, and haven't been in 2 of them. Yes, they did not play well the last 2 weeks, but I think this is just going way, 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 way too far. When Notre Dame lost by 3 points last week to a top 5 team, like, guys,
Right. And they scored 40 plus in the first 4 games of the season.
right?
So they don't have a mediocre
Right.
offense. Now, the offense
In
didn't
Bob
play well
Davies'
today.
second season at Notre Dame, they didn't score 40 points. They scored 40 points a grand total of 0 times.
Yeah.
0 times.
What about his recruiting classes?
I don't remember Bob Davie being a great recruiter. That was the other part of the thing that I didn't quite understand. Great recruiting under Bob Davie. Let's move on.
I've tried to rid the Bob Davie years out of my head, so I would like to not revisit that.
Luckily for you, you were young enough to where you can. It's a little easier for you to rid them from your head.
Yeah,
for me,
I was gonna say you were young.
It's my high school and college years.
Unfortunately, that was followed by the Tyrone Willingham era, though,
which was even worse. Yeah.
Golf courses around here united on that one. Rejoiced. Yeah. All right, just ND Gal.
You're nuts. They lost money when Ty left. You kidding me?
No, that's what I'm saying. When he showed up, because
gotcha.
At least they gained it back when PK came in. Though.
That's true. They went broke when Charlie was in South Bend. There's no doubt about that.
Never, I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
all right, just ND Gal. That's where I'm gonna go here. Thanks for the super chat. Sam Hartman is the most Notre Dame man we've had in years, and he just got here in January. Class, grit, and perfect hair.
Okay, the last part I can't. The comparison I'm going to make, I can't go there because he didn't have this. But I do like the fact that the last 2 transfer corps they had immediately became Notre Dame guys immediately, because Jack Cohn was very much this way as well.
Sure,
like Jack Cohn fits so well in at Notre Dame as a young man, as a leader, and all that kind of stuff. He didn't have Sam's hair and he didn't have Sam's arm talent. But Jack also had a pretty good year and went 11-2 as a starting quarterback. But he very much quickly became a Notre Dame man. And, and Jack had a similar comeback. I mean, the comeback he had against Toledo was great. He came off the bench against Virginia Tech. And it says something to have that kind of veteran quarterback that can bring calm in these type of moments. That's huge. And Jack did that, and Sam certainly did that tonight. Because like I said, Vince, he did not look at all. You just looked in his eyes at that last drive, and you're just like, he's cool. He's good. He may not make the plays to win, but he looks, we got this, guys.
He had the same look in his eyes the entire game. Like he's just been there, done that. I mean, yeah. Tyler Evans, 29 straight wins against ACC opponents, and thank you, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Want a night. What a night. Feels like we won 2 games tonight. It's 30 straight, right?
I think it's 30. I think it's 30.
Yeah.
But either way, Tyler, you're absolutely right. I was happy at the outcome of the other game as well.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin finally won a big game, man. So good for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look who he's going against. The odds are pretty good.
I mean, especially towards the end. Let's be honest. Towards the end is where you start to feel real good about it.
Yeah. Okay. No. Lord Dragon's got 3 big ones, Vince. So I appreciate you big time, man. I really appreciate that very, very much.
The Lord Dragon coming in hot. He says, what a game, or she. What a game. Poor effort and missed plays, both by players and by coordinators. We won when we shouldn't have, but I'll take it when others can't do the same.
That's right.
Go Irish, go IB.
Absolutely.
Like
here's the next
part.
one. Yeah,
Ooh, another one.
Appreciate you.
Love IB. Love Notre Dame. Go Irish. Beat Louisville.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And finally, another big one. Amen. I'm glad Sam and Audric finished the game, and we didn't need kicking to win.
This came in at 117, which is about when we were talking about the special teams. So,
gotcha. I'm glad of that too. And I am on record as being like the special teams guy, right? And I am so happy it didn't come down to a kick.
Yeah.
Because I might have wet myself at that point.
Yep. Wow.
Like
okay. We've hit a new mark here at 2:02 a.m. Last 6, Vince. Let's get these.
After 2. I have no promises after 2. Okay. Barbecue Pitmaster. Jared Parker is in over his head. That much is clear at this point. I've seen players make him look good, but not vice versa. Can we get Audric ahead of steam, please?
Teams scored 40 points first 4 games.
Yes.
And Audric estimate came into this game leading the nation in rushing. So, Okay.
Carolina Irish. Interior of the offensive line was physically outmatched tonight, but they didn't do well in assignments either. So when do we see Schrouth, or how do you fix this?
I am not opposed to playing Billy Schrouth at all. I still think it's a mistake they haven't worked him in at all. But one game after two pretty darn good games to me should not result in like overreactions in that regard. If it wasn't close enough to where he deserved any playing time the first 6 games, I don't know if one bad game a week after, because like I think Ryan, you said it last week. Last week was against Ohio State. Was Pat Coogan's best game of the year by far. He was pretty darn good last week.
Right.
Rocco was pretty good last week. So no, I don't know if that's the answer. Look, I would be fine putting Schrouth in there. I would say start working him in. I think that would make some sense, but not just because of this game. I just think it's because he's too talented not to try to work in. I think that's been a mistake they made all year. But at the same time, the offensive line's coming off 2 pretty darn good back-to-back games, especially in the run game.
Yeah,
they had a bad game.
They took a step back. There's no doubt about it.
A bad game.
I mean, and hopefully next week they have a better game, and it's you write it off.
Vince, I think Billy Schrouth should be the starter. So this would be a great chance for me to jump in. It's like, this is why you should have paid Billy Schrouth. But that, guys, kid played a great game last week. I'm not ready to go there. They had a bad game. But if you're going to say that, then you need to bench Blake Fisher. You need to bench Rocco. You need to bench Pat, and you need to bench Zeke Correll.
Yeah.
And you maybe think about benching Sam Hartman because he went 15 of 30. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm being sarcastic with that last part. But
there's
Carolina, I get what you're saying, and I agree at the first part. I don't know that it'd be fair for me to say, yep, this is why we need to see Billy Schrouth. That should have already happened. And I don't know if this one game is going to be something that causes them to make that kind of reaction. That's all I'm going to say.
From Trash, Elko's face said, I remember when I was helping Notre Dame do this. This is how it feels on the other end.
Yeah. Mike Elko is one of my favorite people in football. I'll just say that. Yep. He's a good dude, and I love the job he's doing, but I'm glad he's not feeling super great right now because that means they would have won. But he is a genuinely really good person and a heck of a football coach.
Mm-hmm. Tyrell Wilson, Mitchell Evans is looking like our next star tight end. Why no carries for Price, and missing Thomas and Greathouse is a major blow. Love y'all. Go Irish.
Appreciate that, Tyrell. Yeah, I'm asking the same question. I think, Ryan, was it you that asked that earlier in the game? Like, did Jadarian Price even get a carry? You know, like, he's been good for at least one 15-yard carry a game, guys. I mean, it was strange. Very strange, Tyrell. I didn't understand. And I do think missing Thomas and Greathouse was certainly a blow, but that's not the reason that they suck tonight. I mean, Jaden Greathouse had 1 catch for 7 yards, or excuse me, Jaden Thomas had 1 catch for 7 yards on 7 targets in the 2 previous games against Power 5 teams. Maybe he would have played better tonight. Maybe. I don't know that we know that. There was a lot of issues tonight. A lot of issues tonight on offense.
A lot of issues.
Beefeater ND08. What a game. My son turned 8 as we were walking out of Duke Stadium.
That's awesome.
He had a joke. Ryan Day's skin is so thin, he got a paper cut checking his email. That's a pretty bright 8-year-old, man.
That is great. That is great.
That's solid to get that kid a microphone and get him up on stage, man. I'm impressed. GFS, I feel Notre Dame never speeds up the defense. Do you think they need to go more up tempo sometimes?
I do think they need to make it he's talking about speeding up the opponent defense.
Right.
I think they do need to mix it up every night. Look, Notre Dame does not need to be a tempo team. That's not who they are. That's not who they need to be. But they have to be able to take better advantage of having that in their repertoire to kind of keep teams off balance. I think that's a missed opportunity not doing that. Yes, agree completely. I do. And Ryan, you've talked about this before. I know you've said this as well, that this is something they absolutely need to work in as something. Hey, we're just going to come out this series and put our speed on the field, and we're just going to go.
Defenses hate changing the tempo, man. They hate when a team is going one speed the entire game, and then all of a sudden they just quickly change to a different type of tempo. I originally read that as defensive tempo, and I'm like,
yeah. I did at first until I got to the second sentence, and then I was like, okay, he's talking about the offense. Yeah,
I was just picturing a bunch of defensive players. Like, guys, get to the line. Let's go. Come on.
Hurry, no, but I mean, he's right. To your point, though, Ryan. It's if the defense isn't sure what tempo you're going to be, what personnel you're going to be, that can be problematic. I don't know what I got really excited about the tempo.
Yeah, you did. I like
it. I'm just proud of my mic for the cord not popping out. So
yeah,
last
facts.
one, Vince.
Nick Gonzalez, first time chiming in this year. Welcome, Nick. Thank you. Miss you a lot. Well, I miss you too. Gritty win. I think he said he misses the show a lot, but I'm going to say that he missed me.
Yeah.
Showed heart
I
and
think
a
that's
tough.
what he meant, Vince.
Yeah,
I think you kind of need an emotional virtual hug tonight.
Vince,
you've been dropping a lot of stuff. Like Vince has got some stuff going on tonight. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but
Vince, just text one of your 17 group chats, man. You'll be fine.
Well, another group chat. No. Let me finish reading this, and then you guys can bag me. All right. Showed heart in a tough road game. Next week is a trap game. Then on to SC. Go Irish. Love thee.
You're not going to be like this the whole drive to Louisville next week, are you?
No. I'm going to put my headphones on and watch movies.
Good.
Brian, you won't believe how many group chats I'm in, man. You won't believe it.
He's just going to be doing that the whole time. Like, dude, I'm in. Respond on my. Oh, guys, this is a great one to end on, and Nick, and I appreciate that. But look, that's the best part about tonight because it was so ugly for so much of the game.
Yes.
But they showed, because to win a championship, guys, you need to be able to win because you just come out lights out, blowing a team out, and you need to be able to win when you're freaking bring your D game. And tonight, Notre Dame played their D game and still beat a ranked team on the road, right? Like, do you guys get that? Like, look, it's okay. Like, what we don't need to do on this channel is be like, hey, they won, so nothing else matters. And if you're not here to pump sunshine about every single thing, and then that's not us. But It's also not to not appreciate the fact that, do you guys understand how hard it is to go on the road against a well-coached, good football team with a dynamic quarterback, play like crap, and win?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to need to do that sometimes. And Notre Dame did that tonight. And that's, that doesn't mean that we erase, and if we're coaches in the film room and just ignore it all, hey, let's ignore all these bad plays because we won. No, we're not going to do that. But we're not going to also diminish the fact that they won, because these kids played their balls off at the end of the game and did everything they needed to do to win, where a week ago, this is exactly the criticism we lobbied at them that they did not do.
That's true.
And that shows me a group that has a lot of heart. And even though they didn't respond to last week's loss the way I wanted to, with more fire, more passion, come out clicking, come out fired up and all that, they didn't do that. But I would rather, I'm just glad that we saw a team that when their backs were against the wall, they brought their A game. They played their D game for 57 minutes. They played their A game for 3. And that's why they're 5-1 right now and going to be ranked in the top 10 next week. And that's something you can hang your hat on. There's no doubt. Yep.
Boom.
So take us out of here, man.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the post-game show. Oh, Leviathan has a super chat. Sorry this is late, but I fear Marcus Freeman might have scared Jared Parker, and this is the result. But if that's the case, if he can't handle the expectation, then maybe he isn't it.
It's a lot of assumptions, man.
That's a
lot of
lot.
assumptions.
Yeah. Anyway, but thanks everybody for joining us on the
I do appreciate the
show.
super chat.
Of course, we always do. We got a lot going on this week, so make sure you tune in. But before we turn the page to Louisville, make sure you tune in tomorrow night for Upon Further Review. It's tentatively scheduled for 8 o'clock.
We'll do it tomorrow night. We'll definitely do it tomorrow night.
All right. So 8 o'clock tomorrow. So make sure everybody tunes in. Brian and I are going to go over the film. We're going to check it out, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we're going to let you know what we saw. So make sure you tune in for that. And then the rest of the week, guys, you got, recruiting hour on Monday. IB Nation.
No. We're changing things up. We're going to have a mailbag on Monday. Recruiting hour is not going to be on Friday. So we're mixing things up, man. Yeah.
Mind blown. I don't know how to operate.
We put it in one of the group chats. You didn't read it.
Yeah.
Not the
it
one
was
to
in
me.
Your 19th group chat. You didn't see it.
I think you neglected to tell me. So anyway.
We're not on either show, so it slipped my mind.
Wrong. You're not wrong. But I'm trying to pub it, man. I'm trying to give you publicity. So everybody check it out. Afternoon shows, night shows. We got all kinds of fun stuff for you guys. And always check out irishbreakdown.com and check out the boards. If you're not a member, boards.irishbreakdown.com. Look, it's scrolling right under me right now. Boom. Go check that out. Always good stuff. And, hit the like button on your way out. That would be nice. We've had a great audience this entire time. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Give us a 5-star review. Tell your family and friends about Irish Breakdown. I always do. I literally have a flag hanging in my office, and I make sure I tell every kid that I suspend to go listen to Irish Breakdown. So make sure you do that as well. So for Brian, he's up there. Ryan, he's over there. I'm Vince. I'm down here holding these guys up. All right. We'll talk to you next time on the Irish Breakdown Podcast.